and the ancestors are looking out for us. God Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the poke chair under it. Scroll down, look at the poke chair under
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Flown lesson. Peace be
Young
unto you.
TV.
Hit that like.
Hey, Mike, check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Rod?
Yeah.
Hey, man, when I tell you this is the end of their gaslighting, I got all them receipts you sent me last night and some. Hey, we about to get, hey, well, what? Hey, everybody hit that like, hit that subscribe button. You already know, notice the agent is notice the principal every time we got Chief on. This is about to, man, I'm telling you, the stuff Rod gave me last night, boy, I'm telling you, I've been, man, I'm telling you. Let me go on. Share that screen, man, because we about to get it cracking up now. We got slides, we got clips. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get it cracking. Hold on. Okay, I see they gonna mess my slides up. It's all good. We're gonna start. We'll start right here. Hey, y'all, hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, man. We about to get cracking.
Yeah, I got a new phone now, so it's dark on my side. The camera ain't as good. It ain't picking up the light like it's supposed to.
Make sure they don't skip me, man. You already know what. Yeah, Rod, what'd you say?
Did you hear me?
What'd you say, Rod?
I said I got a new phone. Yeah, I don't know how it's acting. I see that the camera got me dark, like I'm in the dark. I ain't in the dark. That's just this camera not processing. Okay, well, let's get it in.
We can see you. We can see you. Y'all hear him out there in the crowd? Hey, y'all, can y'all hear him in the crowd? This is the part where we take over the game. Where we gonna start? Hold on. Let me get to the good stuff first. We're gonna start with the good stuff. What? Huh? Hold on, y'all see what's in these. I'm just letting y'all see what's in the clips, man. We can start right here, Rod. About that lady you gave me last night. So I went and pulled up, did the research about Tib Tuba. That's how you say her name.
It's Tituba.
Katuba. Now it says right here that she was a enslaved black woman who lived in the 1600s and was one of the first people accused of practicing witchcraft during the infamous 1692 Salem witch trials. And then, so they admitted that she was a dark-skinned, so-called black woman, right? Right here. And then if you go down and then look up stuff about her, they say right here she was an indigenous enslaved woman who was one of the first to be. So she black and she indigenous, right?
All right, but I don't want you to focus on that right there yet. We're gonna
What
come
you want
back
to
to
go
that.
into? Huh?
Just keep reading the rest of that part right there. Keep reading that little slide you had up.
This one right here.
Yeah, keep reading it. It say Tituba
Itibu was an enslaved
and
indigenous American who was, what you say?
who I was just reading along with you. Go ahead.
Okay, woman who was one of the first to be accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials of 1692, 1693. He was enslaved by Samuel Parrish, right? The minister of Salem Village in the Providence of Massachusetts Bay.
Now you remember when before I met Empress Redbird, I was saying the only big mama that could have called us all to war like that was the Gullah Geechee out of the Carolinas.
Right.
Okay, now this was one of her descendants. They about 200 and some years apart. Right? The one that called us all to arms, which had us flooding Florida in the Gullah Wars.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now when they found out what they had done to the paleface, they started teaching the ones they were bringing over here something called yoni magic.
Okay.
Right? The yoni magic allowed the women to hive with Prime Creator through the womb.
Okay.
So she got caught teaching them by the colonizers.
Right here. We go a book right here about it. Go ahead.
And when she got caught, that triggered a wave of what they call Salem witch hunts. Now, it tell you in there exactly where she was in Salem, North Carolina.
Okay.
So it's no coincidence that Empress Redbird is from North Carolina.
Right. That's fire.
All right. Now, all of these things don't seem connected unless you know the conjure.
Okay.
When you realize what they was trying to do is they was really trying to suppress any female from being taught what the women was teaching each other over here. The same thing she was teaching these girls is what they used to teach at the Califia Castle off the West Coast.
Okay.
The major difference is the Califia Castle was for the tribes whose women was to abstain from men until a certain age. When they got to be a certain age, they go out there for training.
Okay.
So that when they come back, they perfected women prepared to be a big mama in their own house, a divine, right? A homemaker, right? So she was teaching this to them. Now, when they catch her, there was another thing that came not too far after, showed you the hiving of the mitochondrial that was called the dancing frenzy.
Okay.
You remember we talked about that last night?
Yeah, the dancing frenzy. That's right.
Yeah. So that's when that mitochondrial reached maximum output and the person started experiencing that pure bliss. When they get to that level, they can't stop dancing until the big mama that triggered them all say, okay, we got it now. We all hived.
That's deep.
Okay,
Hey,
now
also, go ahead.
Now we go back to the part you was focused on, Elder.
Yeah, like this my thing. She was enslaved. So they enslaved. They claimed to enslave us when they got over here. We know we was prisoners of war, but they saying she was an enslaved black woman. Then they admit that she was a indigenous is so they were enslaving the indigenous people who were dark skinned, is what they pretty much saying in this breakdown.
Yeah, well, that's called a subtle confession. So,
Okay.
say for instance, a person is in the interrogation room with the police, right? And they said that they don't know nothing about the crime. And when they asked them where they was at, and they tried to figure out a way to tell them they wasn't where the crime took place, but then they give a little subtle confession.
Right.
Right? Like they never brought up the color of the car that the person drives. So the person would be like, I don't even drive a blue car. I drive a red car. Well, how did you even know we was looking for a blue car? If you drive a red car, how did you even know we was looking for a blue car? That's a subtle confession.
Right.
Never told them. Right? So here it's saying that she was an enslaved indigenous woman. Think about that for a minute. If she's enslaved as an indigenous woman, why are they going to Africa bringing people over here to enslave when they're doing it here already?
Right.
I'm gonna let that hang in the air for a minute while you go to the next thing, yeah.
Oh yeah, we on them. Hold on, let's go and get down to it, man. Let me go back. Oh yeah, this is another one I want to touch on. No, right, this one right here. Last night, man, you cracked my head with this one. Remember, we went over on the last one. I think the time on the WD Du Bois tape that Haile Selassie was essentially buried under the toilet by the Marxists. Juna. They kept him under the house arrest at the Imperial Palace. Addis Ababa. He died August 27th, 1975, to prevent his burial site from being a rallying point for supporters. The Dergs secretly buried his body vertically in a shallow grave, sealing it in concrete and building a latrine, which is a toilet or restroom, directly over it. Now, when you made the connection with the Nipsey Hussle connected with Haile Selassie, and that the dude that killed him name was Shitty Cuz, man, could you break that down? That was a cold connection right there, man.
Okay, so Hermes Ashkadam is the reincarnation of the Emperor Haile Selassie.
Go ahead.
The reason why he was even over here in America was to give his pieces to the puzzle to see who we really fighting.
Go ahead.
I got a post on my page from, I think it's from 2018, 2019, that goes into what his mama was saying about how they knew it was a hit on Nipsey. Right? Now, Nipsey being the reincarnation of Haile Selassie, there had to be a connection to show the connection beyond just him being from Eritrea.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be a connection to the secret burial of Haile Selassie. So when you're looking at what the latrine is for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they telling you that Nipsey was shot by a guy named Shitty Cuz.
Right.
That's a shitty situation, Elder.
Man, that's a heavy duty connect right there, man. How Nipsey Hussle is really from that area. He's his descendant, right? They come from the Ethiopian area, and then the resemblance and how he looked is just striking. It's a striking resemblance, man.
And not only that, it goes to character. Nipsey was known to have a very excellent character.
Right.
And a royal demeanor. That's why he had to keep reminding him that he's not bigger than 60.
Okay. Yep, that's right.
Because his natural charisma is going to make him shine so bright, it's going to look like he's bigger than his set.
Go ahead.
Which is creating a controversy for him to be seen. It's a more to go to this. It ties back to Tupac, Lil Rah-Rah, and the time frame given by Haitian Jack.
Interesting.
So if you go back, one of the last songs Tupac did was called Outlaw. And now remember, they don't have to be the exact same person to give you the message.
Okay.
They can use two different people to give you the message if you know the numbers.
Okay.
All right, now, at the beginning of Outlaw, he asked Lil Rah, what you gonna be when you grow up? Say, I'm gonna be an outlaw. He said, little nigga, how old is you? He said, I'm 11. That don't have nothing to do with nothing at this point. It's just 11-year-old kid on the Tupac song.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in the game. Now, years later, in the early 2000s, Haitian Jack came out with an interview where he was in California in a car. And this ties to the realest shit I wrote by Tupac. Heard he was light-skinned, stocky, with a Haitian accent. Jewelry, fast cars, and he's known for flashing. Listen while I take you back and lace this track, a real live tale about a snitch named Haitian Jack. Now, they want to paint Haitian Jack to be an informant, but that's not that's not the kind of informant Tupac was talking about. He was informing Tupac about the conjure.
Okay.
Being from Haiti, he took Tupac when he was in New York to meet all of the old Haitian conjure men. And then he told Tupac, it's gonna take you this many months of your public campaign. Then you have to disappear for 22 years. Okay, now 22 years later, out of nowhere, out pops Nip, and he's running a marathon.
Go ahead.
A marathon is a long distance race. If you understand what they call protracted struggle and liberation, you'll understand the marathon.
Okay.
Okay, now the marathon can only continue until you get to the finish.
Right.
So when Nip come out, he is a timer. He's the alarm clock. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he set the alarm, he come out, he on a talk show. I think it was one of the New York radio stations, and they asked him how old he was, and he said he was 33.
Go ahead.
And it was 22 years after the song dropped, Outlaw, which tied back into what Haitian Jack told Tupac about the conjure. Right? Now, when he come out, that's a cue. It's a notice. It's to tell somebody you next. Your time to step out into the forefront is now. So whoever the person is that can read the sign, that's who the message is for. Think about that for a minute. Out of all of these 8.3 billion people on the planet, the message is not for nobody else but the one who know how to read the sign.
Go ahead.
Now, so the content of the conversation on the radio show, he was talking about selling Jay-Z his project. He was for $1,000 an album, right? And he said how many Jay-Z bought. I think he said he bought like 10 of them or 100 of them, whatever it was. It was by increments of 10, which is also another code. Right? Remember we was talking and you was talking about lock picking, and I said, what do you call a person who pick a lock?
Jiggers.
A jigger. That's a hood term. If you ain't from the street, you ain't gonna know what a jigger is. When we was little, they used to call the jigger, because we didn't have locksmith to jigger the lock.
Okay.
Let that sink in. Now we talking about Rock Nation. Rock Nation is direct knock to the P Stones in Chicago, because Stones run it, because that Jeff is the law.
Go ahead.
Right now, and Rock Nation is supposed to represent the top of the pyramid. right? But that's not what it represents. It really represents the citadel, which is the rook.
Go ahead.
Okay, now they got different positions on the board. Based on what people say, they're gonna tell you what position that they playing on the board, right? And then they gonna tell you who they talking to. Before anybody knew who Rod Hayes was, talking this guerrilla talk, Kanye, Chicago, GD, and Jay-Z dropped a song called Niggas in Paris.
Go ahead.
In that song, they dropped what's called a key. Right? Because in the end of the song, they say it's gorillas in Paris. You said, no, it's much more provocative than that. Right? So to be provocative means one who provokes something. Provocative is the act of provoking. When somebody trying to start a fight with you, what do? They provoke you, right?
Right.
So if it's provocative, that means that it's somebody that's prepared to upset a whole lot of people. Right? So that was the connection with the Nipsey Hussle, Haile Selassie, and Shitty Cuz in the latrine. I think it took them 17 years to realize that Haile Selassie was buried under the latrine.
Right.
Now that's Shitty Cuz. That's real shitty, cuz.
It is, cuz.
Here we looking at Notre Dame University. Notre Dame means the Dame of the North or the Lady of the North. This university caught fire a couple years ago, which drew my attention to it. And as I was looking at the overhead view, I said, damn, that slave ship image is the blueprint of this building.
That's it.
And then I got a post on one of my Instagrams where I did the overlay, and it was a perfect fit.
So is, bro.
Now, the reason why this is even related is because the slave narrative was derived through the process of education, meaning that it was a strictly academic warfare activity.
Go ahead.
Right? Now, if you look at the bow of the ship, and then you look at the front of the cathedral up to where you see the cross protrude, that's the first part. Where the cross protruding, scroll up to the top. You look at the blueprint, you see the cross section of it.
That's you right. See it? That's right, Rod. Go ahead.
Okay, now then you have the tail of the ship that follows that. But if you look at the design of the building, this is the blueprint of the Notre Dame University reworked to look like a slave ship. That's why we couldn't find no slave ships. It was all mental. It was mental enslavement. It wasn't actual enslavement. It was to run a whole bunch of narratives through the educational academies, Volkschulen, Realschulen, and to feed us this slave narrative so that we won't never be mentally prepared to take back our power from the system, and we will be perpetual slaves until one of us figure it out. And then it's enough of us to look into what they're telling us in order to see this stuff that's actually in our face, behind our back.
Man, that's a striking connection right there. That look, even the back of the ship, like everything you're saying, man, is that's crazy, man. How they could do that. And then they burned down.
Now you see where the cross was at, right? It actually got zapped by a ship.
Go ahead.
When you go back and you look at the video, it was even a news report that was asking about the UFO that was sitting above it. Now, and if you look at where the cross go on the or the center section is, it's burned down on this one, right there where you point at, and right there, That's called the mast of the ship. The mast is where the poles is stationed in order to raise the sails. Now scroll back down to the university on the bottom picture. Now this is with the cross. The mast is intact. Now if you look, you will notice that there's a distinctive X.
Right here.
Because X marks the spot.
Wow.
It's not just the X though. It's a Templar cross on its side.
Yes, yeah, that's right, Rod. Go ahead.
Because now it's telling you the source of the orders and who was supposed to give this doctrine to the people. The ones who carried something called a white man's burden. That was whose job it was. That's why they trained them in Notre Dame. Now, why did they pick Notre Dame University for this? Notre Dame means the Dame of the North. The North is the home of what's called the Ice Princess. Right? The Ice Princess is the mother of Loki. In the right there from because we know the North is actually the underworld. So in order for the South to rise back to the top, somebody from the underworld have to rise up and say, no, 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 no. The Dame of the North, right? Glinda, the good witch that got the house dropped on her in the Wizard of Oz. Glinda was the one that came to help Dorothy. But the one who got the house dropped on her in the Wizard of Oz she was the Queen of the North.
Okay.
The Ice Princess became the queen. Now, Dorothy gets her shoes, which ties into the Cinderella story. In the Wizard of Oz, they ruby red shoes, but in the book, they silver slippers.
That's right.
And in Cinderella, it's a glass slipper. That's telling you 3 different types of feet involved, but it's the same foot in the shoe.
Go ahead.
Right now, that take you to the shoe collector, Imelda Marcos. Imelda Marcos was collecting shoes because she was the kingmaker. This is the overhead view. So the Dame of the North was one of the sacerdotal seats. That was formerly known as the Europa seat until Vatican usurped Europa. Okay, now, I want y'all to look at this. So you got 2 pictures of Notre Dame, one before and one after the fire. Notice the thing that's most stick out is there's a hole where the cross goes.
Yeah, right here.
Right, that's where the mast. That means the ship have no more sails. The slave narrative is spoiled now because somebody know what this means.
Go ahead, Rod. You cracking them.
Okay, now that the slave narrative they've been knocked a hole in, everybody can see through the religious worship that they gave us worship. Dogma.
Rod, you cracking, Rod. You getting it cracking, kid. Yeah, he got that cross. This
another image of it. Now we went over this before, El, and people.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard pill for a lot of people to swallow back then, but now the ones that been around, they can see it now.
Yeah, it's clear as day, Rod. It's clear as day, man. It's clear as day. Like it's a copy. It's clear as day. All right, hold on. Okay, let's go back this way. I got something for you. Now I found out that James Brown was a Native American, man. And they try to lie. Go ahead.
Stop. Before you go any further. James Brown was a high chief.
Go ahead.
He wasn't just a regular chief. He was big chief of the Brown family clan. All of the Browns was under his chiefdom. The Browns is one of the biggest clans on the land.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, so his dad was Native American, and his dad really was a full-blooded. They try to say, oh, he was he was a full-blooded Native American, and they try to say his mama was Asian. But here's a picture of his dad right here, right? The Browns, the Browns, yeah. So James Brown was a Native American, man, from South Carolina. When we just talking about South Carolina and North Carolina.
Yeah. Now, it's a unique hatred from America for anybody from the Carolinas because they know that the big mama that was going to be able to reclaim the land was going to be in the Carolinas because they've been mapping us through the star maps. We already went over that.
Look at that. Now, people was asking me why I bring up Jesse Jackson. It's because Jesse Jackson was a member of the Killer Clowns, and that he the one that popularized and coined the term African American in the 1980s, right? So he's part of those gatekeepers that we're about to get into. These Killer Clowns, these Shriners who set up the COINTELPRO operations, right? So hold on, let me get to it. All right, now here's another thing. It says we're talking about Slavics, right? And it says right here, white people acquire millions of acres of Native American land through the Dawes Road Act, right? Using a system tracking viral enrollment records called the Dawes Road. The federal government used legislation to systematically transfer roughly 90 to 120 million acres of land out of the indigenous custody between 1887 and 1934. Since white settlers corporation, the U.S. government used several specific mechanisms to take the land. Now, here's another.
Go back to that for a minute, El.
Okay.
This is what Martin Luther King was talking about when he said that they brought the European peasantry over here, took our farmland, and gave them zero interest loans and mechanized their farms. And look at the dates. You read the date, 1787 to 1934.
18.
Why is that important? If you get the book Black Labor, White Wealth, and you look in there, it's a section in there to tell you how much what they call heirs land we had.
Okay.
At the turn of the 1900s, we had more heirs land than anybody else in the country.
Okay.
Where we get it from?
Right.
They would now remember they not allow in the 1800s. They not allowed to allow us to open the business, do business, buy a business, or sell a business. They didn't allow us to buy land. They blocked us from anything to do with the land. The only reason why this is the squatters' right.
Right.
This is a carryover too from the Dawes Road. This is the squatters' right in action, which is a subsection of what they call the man, I forgot the term. It's a form of redlining when they see eminent domain. So they use eminent domain, which is how they write the red line of the eminent domain on the map. That's how they get the term redlining. And the redlining is what allows the squatter to know where to squat to steal the land.
Look at it. Hold on, I got that's another. It's another. The one about when they came over here. Hold on, because they came over here as Slavics.
All of them were Slavic. They were coming from all of the countries.
Right here. Here we go. Right here.
Most of them was coming over as children.
Look at the time frame, Rod. It says
Mhm.
Russian context in Russia, Slavic populations were subject to serfdom until
Serfdom.
1861. Wait, what was that?
Serfdom. A serf is
Serfdom.
another term for slave.
Okay.
Russian serfs were legally considered chattels. Chattels is the Jewish term for a Gentile who could be bought and sold, functioning similarly to chattel slaves in Americas.
Look at the time frame though. That's the same time they start doing the Dawes Roll.
This time frame, 1880 to 1914, that's what they call the Ellis Island immigration.
Go ahead.
Like right now, if you go to Google, can you go to Google on there?
Yeah, but it might freeze me up though. If I try to go online while I'm on live.
Okay, I was just gonna have you pull up the Ellis Island immigration because it's around that time. At the end of the 1800s, going into the 1900s, was they was bringing the Ellis Island immigrants in. Before that, they was using a port in Texas.
Go ahead.
Right, so the people that we call in today Native Americans, the Mongolians, came in as Chinos through the Mexican China Road, which is part of what we call the South Pacific slave trade. Most of us never heard of that before.
Okay.
But go ahead, you can finish reading.
Legally, the Slavics immigrants were always classified as free white people. They came over. When they came over, they nationalized them under the Nationalization Act when they started coming over, right? Europeans were initially viewed as radical inferior ethnic whites.
Racially inferior ethnic whites. I mean, it was some whites, right, that was from another ethnicity. That's why when you go to free white persons in law, it tell you that they was Jews, black Jews.
Yep. Africans, they say, oh, yep. Yeah. So, but look under this right here. This is how they get reclassified from Slavics to white people, right? And then they use the white people to do the Dawes Roll, to sign up for the Dawes Roll, about around the same time after they started coming over here. So a lot of these people that's calling themselves, they really they what they call the $5 Indians, right, Rod? These people.
Yep.
They require to state their tribal affiliation, prove their blood quantum. That's why some of these people you see, they say the chief, he looked like a European, but he only 132s of a native. How you 132s of a native, but you're gonna tell us that we can't be native? And
somebody just put in the comments, Ellis Island started in 1891.
Go ahead. Look at this. Right around the same time. Right around the same time. So these are your guys that's coming over that's gonna try to switch their storyline out with ours.
Okay, now a critical question arises.
Okay.
If they serfs, which means slaves, already in Europe, who bringing them over here?
Right.
Who they master? The
Dirty Moors. The Dirty Moors was the ones that was bringing them over here, man. And this was a part of also a cellular colonialism where they was going to replace us with these guys and that these guys, that's what that Dawes Roll, all that was about. They were going to replace us with these. This was our replacement, partially of these people. They
weren't going to replace us with them.
Go ahead.
Right, they was using them as pawns on the chessboard.
Go ahead.
As the white pieces. We were supposed. Okay, remember the George Washington challenge? At the end of 200 years, we won't know what our ancestry is or what side of the ocean we come from. Right? Look like you about to pull it up. Okay, now when we realize that
Yeah,
there's
I'm
some
about to
people
pull
up here,
up for you right here.
just go back to the George Washington challenge and read it again. You want to read it?
Yeah. And this how you know that the Moors are from America based on what George Washington said. He ain't gonna trick us out of Africa. He was over in America. It says, let me blow it up. If we would agree to take the fezzes and turbans off the Moors' head and remove their sandals from their feet and enforce severe punishment, and to also swear a death oath, I'm gonna pull that up too, the bloody oath of the papacy,
Don't
between
forget,
ourselves to religiously,
and you got to also remember the Rockefeller also put out a repeat of the oath, what they call the secret oath of the Jesuits.
Right, I got it. I got a clip. I got that in here too.
Okay, go ahead. You can finish reading.
And it says, between ourselves to religiously and faithfully not to allow anyone to teach the Moors children who they really were or who their forefathers were, and only allow the Moors children to be taught that they were truly Negroes, blacks, and coloreds, black people and colored folks. 200 years from today, the Moorish people would not know their nationality nor the nation name of their forefathers. Also, they would not know from which land or ancestry they are descended from. So they telling us we Africans, but George Washington is over here to trick us in America. So
okay, now
yeah,
the whole point of this is, if you notice, they said the feathers and turbans, and then they brought up sandals.
right.
Moors that came over here from Europe didn't wear sandals; they wore what was called buckle shoes.
Go ahead.
That's showing you that it's two different distinctive groups of people.
Go ahead.
The sandals they referred to, we didn't call sandals. We called them moccasins.
That's right.
Right? And so now it's two groups of people that look similar, put in the community together, and now they got to educate themselves above the conditions of this country right here.
200-year conjure.
Yep. Now, when we wake up, and we supposed to be so ignorant when we come online. Remember Elijah say, you can't wake them up too fast so they'll tear something up.
Go ahead.
Because if we'd have woke up too fast, we would have got what we call the proxy. We would have never got to the source.
Go ahead.
So we woke up in stages. That is tied to Masonic initiation rites. You have to be raised by stage and degree.
Yeah, you got 3 degrees. Go
I
ahead.
can help you see shit. I'm giving you game.
Pull up by, they told us to pull up by our bootstraps.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we also know about the term American people who were these $5, the people that came over as the Slavics and the Filipinos and Chinese railroad workers who they sent to Indian training school. We got to pull it up too.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then the word Arab really is it's a tricky word too, because Arab means of the original. Now, unless they're gonna say that the original people was the Armaks, and that these people descend from the Armaks, then the word Arab. But the Native Americans originally applied to the Aborigines of copper-colored race, found here by the Europeans, and should say Negropeans, but now applies to descendants of Europeans born in America. So now they're calling these guys the penny, the brown paper bag test, and all that applies to us. And
Yeah.
these guys are the imposters.
Yeah. So somebody in the comment look up the Blue Vein Society and the Brown Paper Bag Club and put in the comments for the people in the comments to see what it say.
Look at that. Now, Crispus Atticus, a Native American. I did a tape on this. Roy told me about this dude.
Right, because they
He
used
was
they
the
had
first
to
to be murdered. Go ahead.
yeah, so they had to use the first blood of the righteous to write the Constitution with. That was the John D. Conde. Somebody put in the comments a minute ago, the John D. Bridge is falling. That's what we're talking about. The John D. gave Queen Elizabeth I, I think it was, the keys to the conjure.
So that's Crispus Atticus. Hold on, we're gonna get into some of them. I want to get some of these heavy duty joints. I've been working on this since this morning, so I ain't have time to put it in order because I worked on this all the way up into to now, right? Now the out of African narrative. This is they all of people that's coming with the when they using the Lucy to prove that all humans, mankind, or whatever they want to call it, origin from Africa based on Lucy. What you got on that, Rod?
So Lucy, first of all, was not a human. Okay. If you look up, she was something called a proconsul, which was supposed to be an ancient evolutionary ancestor to both apes and humans, which ties into Darwinism. Darwinism, evolution was a pseudoscience used to push this narrative that everybody from Africa. Right. So Lucy wasn't even a human. For all we know, she was a 3.5 million year old chimpanzee because she was their height.
Go ahead.
But since they want to push that narrative, Lucy was discovered by the Leakeys in the Oduvar Gorge in Kenya, I think it was. And matter of fact, read it out.
Lucy is used as the foundational piece of evidence for human evolution in Africa because her 40% complete 3.2 million year old skeleton. I can't say that word right there. What's that word, Rod?
I can't see it. Australopithecus.
Australopithecus. Upright walking. Say that.
It's Australopithecus afarensis.
Proving the upright walking bipedalism involved long before large human brains. Her discovery in Ethiopia solidifies East African as a
cradle of early hominid development. Yeah. Okay, now the whole thing is they can't even prove she's a human. Now notice that they said her discovery. It says she was. Let me go back up.
Okay.
Upright walking before. It was a upright walking bipedalism evolved long before large human brains. That means that she wasn't even a Homo sapien, let alone a Homo sapien.
Right.
Right. So you got subgroups in the evolutionary story. Australopithecines is one set. Then you have Neanderthals is another set, but that's the Cheddar Man. But even the Cheddar Man was melanated.
Go ahead.
Right, which is the Neanderthal. So when we talking about people being a Neanderthal, we need to know the critical piece of information is the Neanderthal existed long before the current European families existed.
Yeah. Yeah, so man, we ain't come from no monkeys, and so they using this as the African origin narrative. They must talk about because if you shade the hair off a monkey, what color is it? You know what I'm saying? There ain't no the monkey pale, the pale, when you shade the hair off of it. See? Now we already talked about that. This about to get good. This about to get good. Let's go back. This about to get good. Now they have a parade in Europe, and they have the Squawsapita parade, and then they have it in the Mama's parade, marking the Moors in Philadelphia.
Okay,
Now,
you
why
ever
is they doing they blackface? Yeah, they blackface, and then they paint. Look, they making fun of the Moors in Europe and in Philadelphia.
you ever heard this term? It says imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Go ahead. No, I never heard that.
Somebody can look it up, but they can put it in the comments. If you look it up, this is the old saying that say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But the reason why they continuously doing this over there is because they trying to tell us they got black faces. They not us. We took it to be racial inflammatory rhetoric. Don't read what it's like.
And then they got like when they used to do them acting back in the day, where they make fun of the dark skinned people, they blackface and do all this like the monkey and all that. This to me this is mockery, man. People say, and people in the crowd saying that they weren't mocking us, but shit, what it looked like to me.
It's imitation. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Now remember, if you civilize uncivilized people, their gratitude gonna deify you.
Go ahead.
So they're gonna want to do something to show their reverence for the civilizer. Who did they tell us civilized Europe?
The Moors. Well, they didn't tell us. They try to cover that part up. They don't really talk about that part. They talk about, oh well, Europe was civilized, and they went around civilizing it. The pale man was the civilized. That's the way they put it out.
Mm-hmm. So I've been certain as African presence in early Europe bust all that in the head.
Right. Now here's another, because we dealing with how they gaslighting us and trying to make us think we from Africa and kind of keep up this storyline. But right here it says the first people to be called Africans were the Afar people, and it wasn't until so the ancient Romans started using the word Afar to describe people and place in the North Africa during the Punic Wars. The Romans called them Africans, and they call them Africans in 146. Right here is 146. So the place wasn't even called Africa, and then not to mention that all the people wasn't called Africans. Only the Afar people, these people, were called Africans. So that means the Sands man, the Watusis, they're not Africans at this point. Go ahead, Rod.
Remember when we talked about the Afar Inca versus the Amur Inca?
Right.
Those are the Afar Inca, the people of that went afar. When you remember, most of the tribes on Western Africa said they came from the west across the Great Lake, the Great Waters. Right. Meaning they came from America. They didn't come from Africa to America. They left America and went to Africa, which ties right back into the Emerald Tablets, where Thoth say that he raised his ship up from the Great Atlant and went west and settled in a land called Kim.
That's right.
So everybody's going west in order to go to the Afar land, the land that's a distant land across the water. Civilization started in America, the motherland.
That's right. And so for all them African guys, man, they didn't call nobody. They started calling Africans African in 146. So what was they before then? And then that's like counting, like I said, the Twa man, the Sands man, the Watusis, all of these other old tribes over there. They was only calling these people here which actually I can show you these people in America. I can show you pictures of these people in America, right? As the Shoshone over here.
That's
And
just like
they the old Mississippian. Go ahead, Rod.
that's like the Zulu. The Zulu is the sub branch of Mississippians that's related to Jeff Fort.
Go ahead.
The whole Shaka Zulu story was a mockery of Jeff Fort. It was to slight him to his face.
Go ahead.
We killed your warrior king. Just we go. They wanted to kill Jeff, but they couldn't kill Jeff because if they killed Jeff, they would have caused us another war. So they just locked him up. They wanted to kill Larry, but they couldn't kill Larry because we would have started another war. So they just locked him up. Right? So they put him in what they call control measures.
Look, it says not the entire continent, which divided into to Libya. They was calling it Libya. So the whole continent wasn't called no Africa. So like, and then they going with the Romans who under the Spanish Inquisition. With the Spanish Inquisition ain't starting yet, but these are the Romans, the same guys who would later implement the Spanish Inquisition. They colonized these people and named them. That ain't what them people call themselves. They call themselves the Danaka. And it's other names, right? The Fuzzy Wuzzies. These people tied to the Fuzzy Wuzzies too.
Hattendauer tribe. The Hattendauer tribe.
Okay. Hold on, let me go back. Oh, we're gonna get into it, right? Here we go. Hold on, here we go right here. This is what you gave me last night. This is the receipt you told me to pull it last night. Look at the fist. One shooting to the left, one like the Jewish Defense League guy right here. And this other guy shooting to the right.
They look like
they say these guys involved in start Tupac. We were just talking about Tupac and Eazy-E. These guys were starting us. Go ahead, Rod.
Right. So all of those rappers and dead celebrities was being extorted by the JBL in Hollywood. They known in Hollywood as star whackers. If you listen to go to YouTube. And if you're in the comments, go to YouTube. Michael Jackson got his last interview. He's talking to a reporter named Dieter.
Okay.
And he's telling him how powerful these people is and that they plan to kill him. Right? They was the ones riding Michael Jackson. They was the same ones that was threatening all of the other entertainers.
Right. And this in the FBI file. So they can't say we making shit up. The FBI, and the FBI said that. Look at these guys. Now you gonna find something funny about the connection with these small hat guys and us being the small hats are the ones who are being cat's paw to run this gaslight to make us think we from Africa. They was starting us. And we about to get into it though. All right, so John D. Rockefeller, you know about him, right? He was the one that funded the General Education Board, and he was a Ashkenazi Zionist Jew. He was a small hat, right? And so yeah, he loaned them. I mean, he donated essentially. Now, why would you donate this amount of money to the Education Board unless you got some hand in what's being taught in the that's why he said he don't need a nation of thinkers, he need a nation of workers. So keep in mind these guys are small hats when we going through this. All right, here we go right here, bro. This is another key point right here where they and remember the times, right, when they did the Dawes Roll all lit, right? So the Top Cat put me onto this. The Indian Reorganization Act is when they start trying to convert us over into U.S. citizens. The rest, what's left of us. Also, keep in mind the Indian Removal Act is going on about around this same time. The Indian Removal Act, where they did a reenactment. Really, to me, because to me it sounded like the ones that went take U.S. the Indians that they reclassified us as colored. We're going to get into that, and blacks and Negroes. The ones that wouldn't conform to that, they claim to remove them off the land.
That's where the removal part of the Indian Removal Act come from. Right. So remember, Rockefeller is working for the General Education Board. He's financing the General Education Board.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the slave narrative is handed out through the educational system as the narrative. Right? Because you got to teach it to the children young. If their parents at home don't say that ain't got nothing to do with us, they won't never know.
Right.
For 200 years. Somebody will figure it out by then.
Right. Okay, here they go right here. Yeah, these guys right here, man. The small hats, the Ashkenazis from they are from Germany. That's the the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the Khazar side, which is from Russia.
Which is modern day Ukraine is where they're from.
Mm-hmm. And then they did these people, they're afraid to do a DNA test, about to get into that because it will prove that they're not who they say they are. They really some Aldebaran extraterrestrial. Look at them, there you go right there. There you go right there, the so-called and these guys, the real ones, were dark skinned, the Quakers. They were really dark skinned people.
Yeah, what you looking at right there is mulattoes. Right?
They mix, right, Rod?
Yep. So in the Moorish harem, you got to go get this book called I think it's called Moorish harems, or I think it's called the harems of the Moors or Moorish harems or something like that. But they had all of the pale-faced ladies in their harems, because like if they seen one that had appealing features, it didn't matter if she was married with 10 kids. They would just say, she going with me, and then they had nothing to say about it. That's what caused that uprising in Europe that expelled them from Europe, because they didn't have no reverence for any of the unions and family structures for their debauchery. And then when they produced these kids, they didn't have birthrights. They was called batards, which became the word bastard. Mm-hmm. Right? But the batard, you don't have what's called a heritable birthright. But them still they babies, so they put them in charge of the bank because they didn't have heritability. They couldn't inherit a title, or they couldn't sit on the throne. So they allowed them and trained them in how to use the money magic through the Kabbalah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Black Venetians.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this they puppets. This they front. They middleman. This they fall guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. So now this another thing on here. These racist Ku Klux Klan guys who be coming on our Facebook and attacking us because we saying we native. They don't never mention Walter Plecker, right? Walter Plecker. He wasn't even from here. He was English and Dutch, and his family settled over here. But he's gonna be the one. And look at what his dad name is, bro. Jacob Plecker. Ain't that something?
Every time you see some usurping going on, they gonna always put Jacob or Jacobin in there as an identifier that this is where the usurper rests. That probably wasn't even his father's name for real.
Probably wouldn't. But that's slick though, the trickster, the usurper Plecker. There you go right there. Look, let's get over to this, man. Hold on, we'll come back to that one because we're talking about the William Dungy. Okay, we're gonna come back to that one. I want to get this other this one right here about Walter Plecker. Now look, Walter Plecker started reclassifying us as colored and Negroes, the indigenous people. And remember, we just about the Jim Crow. We're gonna get into that. The Jim Crow. Well, they labeled us as colors and Negroes. So who were they reclassifying, Rod? Who were they reclassifying? The indigenous Virginians, which was the Powhatan tribe with Pocahontas in them. They labeled them as colored. And then they would set up this the nationalization. They would use the Nationalization Act. This is what the people look like. Hey, look, this is what these people look like they reclassified them as Negroes and colors and mulattoes. This right here, dude, look like with the star on his chest, look like LeBron James. Huh?
Let them
They
argue.
started Walter Flicker with the one drop.
Yeah, they can argue with the pictures.
Yeah, so this dude, at first he labeled us as colors and Negroes, right? Who was the Negroes? And then mulattoes, right? So yeah, man, we on to your game. No more gaslighting. Let's get into it. Now we got the Dred Scott case, right? About around 1857. About around this same time is when, a little bit before this, I think it was 1848, is when the Turner heirs versus United States was suing United States courts for the Louisiana Purchase, and they won. They won in court, but then a year later, after the small hats put a couple little dollars in somebody's pocket, a couple judges' pocket, anybody that didn't want to get down, they got stuffed out. And then all of a sudden they overturned the Turner versus U.S. Deal. But here's another key pivot point where they said that Dred Scott in Stanford, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 7-2 that enslaved blacks. Now, remember when we first started out, we read that they were enslaved with the woman under the during the Salem Witch projects. She was an enslaved black woman, and then they said, "Oh yeah, well she's an enslaved indigenous." So, and then we just read where Walter Pleck and them was reclassifying everybody later on, right? But they first, before they start calling us Negroes and coloreds and African Americans, they reclassified us as blacks, right? It was a black and white thing after the 1790, the Nationalization Act. So they ruled that black people could not be U.S. citizens. So Native Americans really couldn't be U.S. citizens. They make sense to me. What you think about that, Rod?
They labeled us black. Now look at the time frame when they labeled us black. 17 what?
Now 1857.
Okay, so from the 200 years supposed to have been from 1776 to 1976, right? But the problem came in is they got an extension in 1812. Now they have to figure out how to maintenance the conjure. That means they got to take over all of the institutions to push the agenda. So they're using the courts as a definitive institution to push this agenda to make us believe that we not from the land. And if you don't believe you from the land, you don't believe you have a claim to the land. Right. But we already had the land. And they say they stole the land from us, but when I look out my window, I still see the land here. And I still see us. They stole our memory of our connection to the land. They didn't steal the land. The land's still here.
And then right after that, Rod, when they talking about the freeing of the slaves, we wasn't no slaves. And then they created the 13th and 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says all people born in the U.S., all persons born are naturalized in the United States as citizens, right? But they didn't include us in this. They didn't include us in this, right? They saying they included us in this. Go ahead.
Yeah, that didn't have anything to do with us. None of the Constitution or Declaration of Independence had anything to do with the tribes. That was all for colonizers.
Right.
That's how we've been getting trapped in a system with no real due process because it really didn't have nothing to do with us.
Right. And the 13th Amendment, they said it abolished slavery, but it didn't abolish slavery. All it did is transfer so-called Christian stock, because the black people, once they reclassified us as black, they put us under the black codes, the Christian black codes and all this. And so once they did this 13th, they talking about it freed the slaves. No, it just transferred Christian stock over to Congress essentially, and they still can enslave you if you essentially commit a crime, which they had created all kind of crimes because all crimes are commercial. You know what I'm saying? So they had created all kind of crimes like curfew. They was giving brothers like 20 years or 15 years in prison for being out breaking curfew. They were just snatching people up, throwing them in prison.
Okay, so the purpose of the 13th Amendment, right, was to take the private ownership of chattel slaves and make them the property of the federal government that was emerging at the time. Right now, how do we know this? Because when after that they gave the slave owners reparations, but they still haven't did any kind of reparational assertion to the ones they claim was the slaves.
Right.
And slavery still existed in the 13th Amendment once you were duly convicted of a felony.
That's right.
So that means that they took the slaves from the private and then they put them under the jurisdiction of the public corporation called the United States. So they took it from, we only gonna have a handful of people slaves, now y'all all gonna be slaves. Driver's license, passport, social security, them slave papers, them your free papers to move about on the land as if you free. Right, that's your hall pass to get around on the land.
Right.
If you don't have an ID, they can take your ass to jail and try to figure out who you are. The $1 million questions is, why do they give a damn who I am?
Right.
Right. Look, about 2 years ago, I went to jail. Right. And they pulled me over. The police said, I'm trying to find out who you are. I said, I'm trying to find out who you are.
Right.
Right. They foreign occupiers. The police are foreign occupying military.
Slave catchers.
Slave catchers. And they trace straight back to slave patrols, and that's how you know. And they handbook trace right back to London, England, where they are given their instructions from.
Yep. Somebody said why Dred Scott wasn't trying to say that he was an indigenous person. Maybe he was, and they just calling him black. Right? Because it's another dude. Hold on, it's another dude, William Dungy. This dude, right? According to Illinois law at the time, Dungy was thought to be a man of color. He stood to lose many of his rights because his brother-in-law was trying to say that he was a black man. The trial was held in October of 1855, right around the same time as Dred Scott. And Lincoln won the case, and he proved that he wasn't black. He actually was a foreigner because he was actually a Portuguese. He actually was a Portuguese, so he wasn't a native.
That made me a white person in law.
Yeah, right. So yeah. And so we already know about the black Negro color thing, the reclassification. That's not us, man. Let's go on. Now, this is what I want to point out about these guys, because these guys are the killer clowns that we talk about. That I talk about. The guys who set up the COINTELPRO operations to protect the North Gate. They say, or the Federal Reserve jurisdiction, which is 13. If you count that star right there, that'll be 13. It'll be DC, Big Mama seat, and that's why they got it laid out like in a feminine. If you go look at the layouts, ley lines of DC, you will see that it's laid out in a feminine, in a matriarch type layout, right? So it says that they was to protect national security. These guys. And these are the same guys who they coming out to the blackest screamingest. And these are the same guys who signed the executive order 6102, which robbed us for all our gold, because we was the ones that had to go. And then also they signed House Joint Resolution 192, which put us into this fiat system. So we got to get into it. I'm trying to go fast because we got a whole bunch of slides. We already got Walter Plicker. All right, this is another key pivot point that the Pan-African guys don't talk about. Rod. We don't talk about Carlos Linnaeus, and it was several other guys that came out and bagged his philosophy. And so his philosophy was that the white man is the Europeans, and that the Asian man is the yellow man, and that the African is the black man, and American is the red man. We the real red man. Oklahoma is what it means, red clay dirt, which is all the way from East Texas, all the way going almost to Florida. You can find this red clay dirt. That's us, Mississippi clay dirt. That's what Rod call it. Yeah, so this is where they get the black, white, color line paradigm. This dude Carlos Linnaeus. Right?
I want to point something out to you, El. Go to the Asians.
Go ahead, Rod.
You see the Asians? They said they yellow, or what's the other word?
Tiny.
You ever heard of a Tawny Moor?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want to point out.
Yeah, that's fire. Yeah, thank you for that, Rod. I heard that before. Yeah, so yeah, this is the oh, we black, oh, we white. It's all Carlos Linnaeus type of paradigm. All right, yeah, we already read that one. Yeah, so he these guys go, right? The 13 Shriners, right? That came over here. Doc, break that down. And these guys would have they claim these are the guys that eventually would claim to be looking for the rise of a black messiah, right? These same guys. And they set up the COINTELPRO operations, these guys, and they working for
Read that section
by way of the black nobility.
Read that COINTELPRO for people that's watching.
COINTELPRO counterintelligence program covert operation was officially formed and launched in 1956. It actually started before that. It actually started in the 1930s. They called it something. They didn't call it COINTELPRO operations. They called it. They named it officially COINTELPRO operations in 1956. Originally initiated to target the Communist Party, the program eventually expanded throughout the 60s to survey and disrupt various civil rights and anti-war and feminist organizations before being officially dismantled and discontinued in the spring of 1971. But they still, that shit's still going on. They just changed the name of it.
They rebranded as Readiness Exercise 1984, but it was discovered in 1984. And the authors was Oliver North and I think Poindexter, who got caught up in the Iran-Contra scandal.
That's deep. I'm about to do a breakdown on that. Yeah, so you see, they rocking the feds with the Begalia on it, and this guy Truman is involved. Truman is the one Malcolm X, when Malcolm X was in jail, he wrote a letter to Truman. And so Truman called this guy, Gay Edgar Hoover, right? Who like young boys, really, who had collected dirt on all the people in DC. He called Hoover and told him, hey man, you just keep an eye on this radical, he called him radical Muslim. That's what he called Malcolm X, a radical Muslim. You need to keep an eye on this guy, Malcolm Little. And J. Edgar Hoover said, oh yeah, we know, we are familiar with Little because of his father. His father was connected with the Marcus Garvey movement, right? Yeah. So these guys is already on it. All right, hold on, get back. All right, we're finna get to but this right here talking about how Rockefeller is really he's Ashkenazi and he's a Zionist. He's a Zionist, man. So we can from this part, we can see that the people that's influencing this African narrative and putting it into the education system, and the people that's running this whole narrative is gonna be coming from these small hats, whether they come from the Germany or Russia. But they like I say, they puppet guys and middlemans and frontmans for the guys who really running the game. These dark Venetians. All right, here's another one. Look at this. This is where they say they was trying to prevent the rise of a black messiah. These same guys, J. Edgar Hoover in his game.
Read
At
least read the first paragraph.
I got you. J. Edgar Hoover, through the FBI intelligence COINTEL program in the 1960s, exclusively sought to prevent the rise of a black messiah, to protect the existing political order and prevent radical social upheaval.
There's one thing that misspelled. This FBI's illegal COINTELPRO.
Okay.
It's illegal.
Yeah,
That means that it was criminal the whole time they was doing it.
That's right. This right here was a movement, and then this is why it goes back to the MAG. If you want to, for the guys that still believe in the Bible, you remember when they was out to Moses. You remember when they was out to Yeshua, where Herod sent 3 wise men, the Magi, these magicians or these priests, to sort out Yeshua and then report back to him so he can have him killed. So these guys in the front of all these hospitals got this statue where they holding the kid, because they after the children, y'all. These are the same guys who set up Walt Disney. These are the in Disneyland. These are the same guys who run the circus, because they are, like I said, they rock our crowns like they know about the mounds, but they're a whole bunch of clowns in real life, my nigga. In real life, there's some clowns, and they the ones that set up all the Six Flags where kids come up missing. Yeah, man, these are the same guys who after us, man. Now here's another small hat connection, Rod, about Melvin Hersovich, who was the one and kicked it. He handed this African paradigm, the myth. Notice they say myth of a Negro past. He handed this African paradigm. Y'all know about Melvin Hersovich, right? Why don't the Pan-African guy?
Since you got it up, read the first paragraph. When you pull up a new one, at least read the first paragraph so they have a.
Jewish American anthropologist Melvin J. Hersovich revolutionized the Black American paradigm. Listen to that, y'all. He the one who created the Black American paradigm by debunking pervasive myth that enslaved Africans lost all ties to their heritage. Through intensive agnosticity. I'm not good at reading out loud. I'm start sweating and getting nervous.
They say through the intensive ethnography and the concept of cultural relativism, he proved that African Americans retained a rich, distinct African culture in the New World.
Go ahead.
But they ain't really talking about African culture though.
Nah. Look, so he the one that handed these. I think these guys Nigerian, right? He handed these guys African paradigm. And keep in mind, he a small hat. So here we go with this, coming back to the small hats, trying to tell us, trying to gaslight us into who the hell we are. Why is they always tied into with this kind of tell us why the small hats, who really are the like Rod said, the money handlers for these black Venetians, they the money guys that they control the like the Rothschilds. Right? Why are these small hat guys always trying to tell us where we from? You know what I'm saying? This is crazy.
So that brings about a question.
Go ahead.
In the Conjure War, you got to do just several things you got to do. One thing you got to do is called maintenance to conjure. Okay. That means once you do the conjure, you have to be doing your due diligence to bring about the result of which you conjured the magic to do.
Okay.
Right. So this is part of the maintenance and of the conjure. It's the agenda that would make us question what side of the water we come from.
Just like the George Washington challenge. Go ahead.
Right. So now they telling us who it is that's doing the dirt by not directly. Like, for instance, with that section I read at the end where it said that he proved that the African Americans retain a rich, then you got the word distinct. When they say distinct, that means it's unique to itself, and then they claim this African culture in the New World. But by it being a distinct culture in the New World, it don't have to be African. It just got to be the dark-skinned people that want to believe they're from Africa.
Right. So the great work, right? Look, they call this shit the great work. Look, they saying that the myth, and keep in mind what a myth is, the myth of a Negro past. So this shit is a myth. It ain't no reality, it's a myth. He created, then he wrote the whole the black American paradigm, and then handed the textbook. These same textbooks would later be the ones that they teach in school about the African paradigm. Now, why is the small hats always coming up when you talking about us being gaslight? You know what I'm saying? I'm about to get into the videos in a minute, though. All right, me and Rod already went over this about for you African pan guys that's still pumping the African panhandling, the African panhandlers. Man, look, we already went over W.D. Du Bois and all the guys that was involved with a lot of the guys that was trying to really make some shape, they got whacked, like Priest Lumumba, right? All the guys that's meeting up with this guy who was really a boule, who was really a Freemason, right?
He was a Huguenot.
Yeah, Huguenot. I got them pictures in here. This dude, let me go back to that. Right here. This is it right here, Rod. He went to Harvard. Come on, man. Do I got even, we can drop the mic on them. He went to Harvard. He was a Freemason. And he was a member of the Boule. The Black Boule, Sigma Phi Sigma.
He's one of the founders.
So, yeah, one of the founders of this. And you know what the Boule is all about? They gatekeepers. So, man, don't listen to no Pan-African guy coming trying to tell you that W.D. Du Bois was this shit. Go ahead, Roy.
You got to make a distinction in Pan-Africanism, because you got two schools of thought under the Pan-African banner. Now, remember, Marcus Garvey was deeply at odds with W.E.B. Du Bois.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Marcus Garvey is in the history book is referred to as the father of Pan-Africanism, but also in the history books, Du Bois is the father of Pan-Africanism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why is that? This is the difference. Garvey was telling us to form a confraternity with the people in Africa because they was being colonized the same as us over here, and if we don't communicate with them, we won't never know Frantz Fanon, right? Blackface, white mask.
Mm-hmm.
We won't never know that kind of information if we don't go to their academics over there to find out what they discovering as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the W.E.B. Du Bois, he was a Pan-African in the sense that he wanted us all to believe that we all came from Africa. It's two different in the paradigm.
Right.
So in order to confuse you about Pan-Africanism, this is why you have two fathers of Pan-Africanism.
Mm.
Now, neither one of them is really the father of Pan-Africanism. The birthplace of Pan-Africanism was the Liberia movement.
Go ahead.
But that's because the original goal when they started the Liberia movement was to deport all of the indigenous people of this land to Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
The American Colonization Society.
That's right.
Under the President Monroe. Right? So there's a difference in studying with Africans and believing you from Africa. It's not the same thing.
Right.
Right. It's a difference in forming a universal brotherhood, right, to fight against the white supremacists and becoming a white supremacist pushing the same doctrine.
Right.
A similar doctrine. So they confuse us in our historical narratives. If we don't know that when the French came over here, there was the Huguenots that led them. And when the Spanish came over, it was the conquistadors that led them. And all of them was melanated.
That's right.
We won't never be able to unravel it.
That's right. Hey, this dude Karl Marx and his connection with the other brother C.L.R. James. He said that he stole his ideology because he wrote the book The Black Jacobs, right? The usurper. Yeah, that's another connection we had right there. But that's okay, hold on. Yeah, French Huguenot. We already broke that down. He was a French Huguenot, the Jacobins. This is another key pivot point too, that me and Rod be talking about the Emergency Banking Relief Act, where they labeled us as the legally the American people, which is us, as the enemy. Right? Hold on. Get to this part. Now keep it. Remember, I told you that Walter, we had that fly by Walter Plecker, and he reclassified the indigenous people of Virginia as colored. Now, who they calling colored? This brother is a native, and they, like I said, they put this Jim Crow shit up and started calling us coloreds. So who was being called coloreds? If he reclassified us to coloreds and Negroes, who were the ones being called colored, bro? And you know about the Jim Crow. I'm trying to get through this fast because I got a whole bunch of videos we got to watch too. Hey, Rod, the Indian training school. Now these Slavics and these other guys that were brought over here, they had to train them to be like us. Rod showed me this receipt. Rod, you want to say something on this before I go to the next one?
Yeah. So these people that you're looking at, zoom in on their faces, Elder. These are a mixture of Southeast Asians and Basque people. So when they had the Indian schools right here, they was actually literally teaching our culture to these people that would later be called Native Americans. That's what they was there for. Remember, it's a clip that's on Instagram, and I was talking to Top Cat, and I was saying that they learned our tribal dances using the 1-2-step method, because they don't have it in their soul because they ain't us.
Mm-hmm.
But them Bloods and them Crips, B walking and C walking, them second line dancers down in New Orleans, that's natural.
Right.
If it ain't in your DNA, it's not natural. It looks unnatural. So somebody had clipped that voiceover out of me and Top Cat talking, and they actually put the video clip, so you could see the difference and how it looked when it's natural versus how it looked when you learn it by the square dance method, is what it's called, 1-2-step method.
Mm-hmm. But they train these people to replace us. While they put us as blacks and colors, they will later give these people our the names of our tribe and start replacing us. That's why these are the people they use to replace us with their cellular colonialism. Now look, also like I say, Ho Shin, because you got some of the people that's calling themselves native too, they look Chinese. But the original ones that came over here doing Ho Shin, Doc talk about it, and let's set the record straight. They were the dark-skinned ones. Look how they worshiping this dark-skinned so-called Chinese lady versus the rest of them, the pale-looking ones, right? Look at that. Did you know that's dark-skinned Chinese? But every time on TV, they only show you these guys. They don't never show you the originals, right? These people are Arab. Go ahead, bro. What you say?
They do the same thing in Japan, the Philippines, Cambodia, India. They don't show you Dravidians in India. They show you what they call the Aryan, which is the usurpers.
Right. Right.
See, that lady on the right looked like a Basque.
Right. Right here. They start getting lighter and lighter once them Fugaloids mixed back in. This was the original. These are the people that came over here in 458 and landed in California and began mixing with us. That's why you see a lot of Asian features on the West Coast, right? Now here's these guys again. These are the same guys at the secret treaty of Verona, at the meeting at Jekyll Island, where they these are the same guys because Woodrow Wilson was a member of these guys, the Killer Clowns, and signed the Federal Reserve Act. All right, we talked about the Dred Scott. This right here, terror. There we go. These are the people. These are the people on the West Coast. This is West Coast natives, right? Hold on.
We did a whole video on them when we was showing them where the actual reservation that belonged to the ones that call themselves Bloods in California.
Yeah.
They reservation that they were supposed to round them up and send them to is in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But because they refused to leave their land, they just reclassified them
as black Negroes and colors.
Yeah. But they remember that who they is, so when they came up and started calling themselves Bloods, they immediately referred to them as a gang.
Mm-hmm. The Black Christian Code 1724. The French, I think it was the French or the Huguenots. They the ones that came out with this black thing, and they started implementing on the Ouachita people first in New Orleans. Right, that's from the Black Christian codes. Go look up the Black Christian codes. Why don't the Pan-African guys never talk about the Black Christian codes? All right, let me go on. I want to go through the rest of this. All right, this is the same guys that these are the guys, and these are the guys, and that's Doc Grandpa right there. That's Doc Grandpa from Sudan. Keep in mind, these are the guys that Melvin Herstovich was handing the books to. This guy, look at this guy with the fez on. Dirty Moore the whole time, though. These are the guys, right, that he was handing that.
Since you brought up Pop's grandfather, you remember how what happened to his father? Them Dirty Moors trapped him down there and caught him to a summit and killed him.
Yep, shot him in the back of the head. Yep. And they say Doc said that Haile Selassie is the one that gave him the drop on his dad.
But that's because they was calling a meeting of leadership, and Haile Selassie was the highest ranked leader in the area. So when he called for them to have this meeting, this is where they catch him at. They already knew who we were over here. They just didn't want them over there to decide to spill the beans. Mm-hmm. Malachi's father would have told him the truth if they didn't kill him.
Mm-hmm. I think the only survivor was his uncle. And then the only survivor, they killed like a couple people out of his family. I think the only one that survived was his uncle.
Mm-hmm. And then remember, they sent him over a delegate. The Ansar delegate from Sudan to come to New York when he was in Sarula.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was one of his cousins. And he gave him, so this is how it worked in the redemption process. At first, if you from the Blue House, you got to redeem the fatherland first. Mm-hmm. This is why Malachi had to teach Islam all them years, because he had to first redeem his Mahdi line. Mm-hmm. But then when he realized, because after his cousin came over here and they was going over all the information in the family history record, remember, he got a big old text called the Sacred Record of the United Nubian Nation of Murs.
Yeah, I got it right here. I got it back there. It's on the couch.
Let's set the record straight is an excerpt. Mm-hmm. It's not the whole volume. Let's set the record straight. He got several excerpts. He tell you right on the page an excerpt from this larger body of work called the Sacred Record. This is his family history that members of his family was keeping record, so that when they find a redeemer in the family, they can give him the whole record.
Mm.
When you give him the record, it's going to also give him information that's going to allow him to see what's going on with his motherland, right? New York was a big mama on the land,
That's right.
right? So in order for him to be able to redeem his motherland, that's how the Moors got able to infiltrate into the Dunawabian nation, is because when he started mentioning the word myrrh, often pronounced more, but it's spelled different, they took that as, oh, this nigga about to figure it out. And then when he did a series of lectures, he had a series of lectures he did on the Moors
Mm-hmm.
and their literature, right? Now, he hooked up with some Moors, but all of the Moor, the ground zero of the Moorish paradigm, Noble Drew Ali created the Moorish Science Temple because he knew that the Moorish Zionist Jews was going to come infiltrate, and he wanted to contain the fallout to the Moorish Science Temple. Right? This is why he wrote the Caveat Emptor. Did you ever get to find that?
Say it again.
The Caveat Emptor that he put in the Moorish literature.
I'm gonna do some research on that. I got you. I got it written down. I'm gonna get you an AI breakdown on that.
Anyway, so he didn't want the war. It was supposed to be strictly intellectual, educate yourself above the condition conflict, right? But they started murdering people that was starting to become educated enough to see the difference between a good Moor and a dirty Moor. They started murdering them. And one of the first people they wanted to get rid of was Noble Drew Ali himself. That's why they gave him to the police to get beat down like that. Right? So now that they got him out the way, it's internal conflict, right? It's Muley Eel versus C. Kirkman Bay.
Yeah.
Right. So now they trying to fight for dominance and superiority and who's going to be the heir to Noble Drew Ali. So this is what all of this is. So Noble Drew Ali told you in the Caveat Emptor, he give you the blueprint to recognize the difference between a good Moor and a dirty Moor. Now remember, he said I could count the number of Moors that's going to make it on one hand and have fingers left. The most that can make it and have a plural number of fingers left is 3.
Go ahead.
Right? So he telling you, right? And then he say in the literature, woe unto any man who called himself a Jew. Because he was fighting the Moorish Zionist Jews the whole time. When he started the first temple in Newark, New Jersey, it was because that's where he found the Moorish Zionist Jews at, and he was able to go sit and listen to their lectures and find out what they was doing behind the scenes.
Yep, I ran across that. Go ahead.
So once he figured out what they was doing, now he got something to work with. He got a paradigm to work from. And then you had a lot of different people come out and take a piece of the puzzle to try to build something that allow us to be able to see what's going on. If you go to the Nation of Islam, they didn't allow pale faces to join. By the time Malcolm X was about to get assassinated, one of the last things he said, the Nation of Islam has been thoroughly infiltrated by the FBI and the New York Police Department. What they look like.
Right? They gotta look like us, but not us. All right, this is the last slide. Then we're gonna go to the videos because we get close. Yeah, Rod. This is what everybody they got against Marcus Garvey, man. They saying, could you break that down? Because he in the picture with Walter Plecker, man. What's Marcus Garvey? Why he with Walter Plecker, the same guy we just read, that was reclassifying all the us as Negroes of colors. People got a problem with Marcus Garvey, but I think could you go in on that a little bit?
Okay, now remember the picture Noble Drew Ali had his hand out to the left, and I told you that mean they coming in hostile on the left bump.
Right.
What side is he standing on?
The left side.
You don't have to agree with your enemy. You have to try to work out a resolution to the conflict. You're gonna have to meet them.
Go ahead.
You're gonna have to sit down with these people and find out what's making them tick. Who you working?
Malcolm X meeting with the Ku Klux Klan from the next. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Malcolm didn't care 2 drops of shit about the KKK.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing he discovered and Elijah taught him in secret was that the KKK was started by some Negroes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's deep. The Servile Negro Order. All right, now let's get out of this because we got that was the we're gonna get to the good part. We gotta run through some of these clips real quick before we run out of time. Let me roll that first clip real quick, man. It's about to get interesting, man. Let's see, these guys.
When I was in Nigeria, I did not know of the African American story until I got to America. And found out. That's true. Right? I did not know anything about slavery.
And white people, that's slavery.
Hold on. That was a Nigerian that said that he ain't never heard of the African slave trade until he came to America. Now, how is that happen? Well, let's roll that.
Gaslighting is a manipulation strategy when another person tries to make you question your own reality. They make you feel like you're crazy. All right? So let's talk about gaslighting. You saw the picture on their phone. And they say, you ain't see no picture. You just tripping your insecurity again. But you saw the picture. But the person makes you believe that you are crazy, that you're nuts. And you say no, and then you start to question it. And then they keep saying it, see your insecurity, that's why I can't be with you. Okay? Now, the person told you that you could spend the money. But then they say, I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you to spend the money. But you said, yes, you did. Yes, you did. I know you did. No. And they make you start to question your own reality. Why would you?
Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which one person systematically causes another to doubt their own memory, perception, or sanity. This is achieved through denying obvious facts, distorting events, diminishing the other person's emotional responses, and consistently reinforcing the idea that the issue lies not in the initiator's behavior, but in the misinterpretation of the targeted individual. On a neuropsychological level, this dynamic can trigger chronic stress, undermine confidence in one's cognitive abilities, and create a growing dependence on the manipulator's interpretation of reality. Gaslighting is a well-recognized red
So, pretty much, I got more clips, but pretty much they gaslighting us by telling we from Africa, telling them they erased all of our greats out of history and they paint them white. I mean, it's a lot of gaslighting going on here, and it seemed like the small hats are the middleman's on this, bro. What you think about that how they gaslight us? Because they come on my Facebook talking about man, y'all some Africans, and then these they don't really, some of them don't even got pictures. You know what I'm saying? But they got like a rebel flag up or something, and they study gaslighting us. But now we know ain't no more. They out of gas now. The gaslighting gig is up. What's your take on that, Rob?
Remember what my background was last night when I sent you there? Yeah. So they can only gaslight you if you got any ounce of unsure. If you got any doubt about who you are, they gonna jump on your doubt. If you think you from Africa and they know you not from Africa, they gonna push that shit so hard till you become an educated fool. Let that sink in. So you got a lot of educators that actually wholeheartedly believe that everybody on earth originated in Africa. But it ain't true.
Where's the
I
white
had
guy
some
who thinks he's a Native American?
I had some reels on my Instagram on my Morpheus Mysticus page that I was trying to send you last night, but it wouldn't let me send them. But it's different people that's addressing this exact issue. Go ahead, roll the corn now.
Where's the white guy who thinks he's a Native American? Listen, you dummy, you're a Siberian squatter who crossed the land bridge when the frost was low. The real Native Americans are black people. You're a $5 in and you paid $5 to steal a name. You're a fake, you hockey puck. They got black Americans wearing dashikis now. You look like a Chinese export. Those things are made in Wuhan. You're not from Africa. You've never even been there. You're indigenous to America. Your grandma...
Hey, he was cutting up. Hold on.
The striking demographic fact about the Americas is that the black population of the US, which of course amounted at the time of the Civil War to something like 4 million people, those people did not come from Africa. They came as a result of natural population growth.
Yeah.
The slave trade to the US was shut down largely in 1807, not completely, but largely. So if you look at the census data for the US in 1870, which is when black people were finally included, you'll find almost no Africans. They were, of course, native African Americans. And that's not something that people have taken on board.
All right, there you go. Now, what you saying?
See the cross?
Yeah.
On the step.
How many African slaves
All right,
were
we just
transported
moving
to
over there.
Mexico during the transit?
Hold on, let me put it.
How many African slaves were transported to Brazil and Mexico during the transatlantic slave trade? Approximately 4.25 million African slaves were shipped to Brazil and Mexico. How many trips were made to transport these slaves? It's estimated that around 43,750 trips were made. How long did each trip typically take? Each one-way trip took about 2 months. Can you break down the collective travel time for all these trips? Sure. If we consider each trip taking 2 months, the total travel time would be around 80,000 months, which is equivalent to about 6,666 years of collective time. For a round trip, each journey would be about 12,000 years. How many boats would be needed to make these trips? If we assume each trip required its own boat, then approximately 40,000 boats would have been needed. How long would it take to build these boats? If it took 3 to 5 years to build a single large cargo ship, then it would have taken an incredibly long time to construct 40,000 boats. Even with an average build time of 3 years per ship, it would take 120,000 years to build them all. Even if it only took 1 year to build a ship, it would take about 40,000 years of construction. 3 to 5 years to build a single large cargo ship.
Hold on. The numbers don't add up on that slave.
When I was in Nigeria, I did not know of the African American story until I got to America. It's
a very stormy ocean. So my thing is, how did you all cook all this food for them 300 to 400 slaves? That's what I want to know. How did you, by the Atlantic Ocean being a salt lake, okay, how did you supply water for 3 months? See, all of this needs to be explained. And see, this is what people do. These so-called Pan-African people. What they do is, they get on the airplane, go to Africa, show us where they kept the slaves before the slaves came to America. But none of you ain't never took that journey. See, when you talking to me makes sense. Because you ain't never took that journey on that boat like they claiming our ancestors did, but you want us to believe the story and not question it. First of all, infection would have set up right away because they would have had pressure ulcers all over their body. Okay, you had no antibiotics to cure the infection. Okay, they was probably eating shit, so they probably had E. coli. All of these is deadly if they're not treated. But you're gonna tell me that these black people, they wouldn't have survived 2 weeks in that boat like that. They wouldn't have survived.
The Civil War was fake and it had nothing to do with slavery. There were 5 slave states in the North. Delaware didn't recognize the 13th Amendment until 1901. Several of these states kept slaves until the 1900s because you could keep their children as slaves until they were in their 20s, aka slave.
So here we are on slavevoyages.org.
More white people have been slaves on this planet than Africans by far. People don't talk about the Barbary slave trade. The Barbary slave trade was all white people in slavery.
Really?
For sure.
When was that?
This continued after the slave trade here was ended.
No way.
That continued for decades.
Wow.
Those Nigerian kings, the chiefs are having press conferences apologizing for selling Africans into the slave trade. They was responsible for that. Nobody speaks about how it was the Republicans, not the Democrats, that led all of the legislature to free the slaves. It was never the Democrats in the first place.
Holy, it wasn't Abe Lincoln?
Abe Lincoln was forced to do this. He didn't want to do this.
Of the Israeli government holding a private convention here in the United States. One of the people in attendance at this.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community.
You know, I wonder why Israel's biggest problem is the young generation of the black community when we're all the way over here. We don't have no land, we don't have no communities, we don't have no commodities, we don't have any resources, we don't have any bombs, we don't have any nuclear weapons, we don't have any missiles. You know, we don't have any military. You know, why would we be the biggest threat? Wouldn't the biggest threat be the people you're actually in war with? What do we have to do with anything y'all got going on? Could it be that the conspiracies about identity theft are true? Perhaps. Because I doubt
of the Israeli government holding a private convention here in the United States. One of the people in attendance at this secret meeting was Judith Varney Shorer. She's a former Israeli consul general who was operating out of Atlanta. She was one of the main people saying that the biggest problem that they had was young black people in the United States. But don't worry, they've got some black leaders on the payroll.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. The problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. Black is with the young generation of the black community.
I got a question right there, Rod. So, Rod, why with the small hats be so? I know why, because we waking up and we finding out the truth now. The younger people, the old people, still going with the old narrative, like some people, not all the old people, but some of the old people still go with the African slave. Or we was beat, Hoppo beat us. But the new generation, the young generation, we saying hell no, we don't believe none of the shit you saying. So we a threat to these guys after they done stole all of our shit. Go ahead, Rod. What you got on that?
The first thing you got to ask yourself is, if we a threat, what type of threat do we pose to people in Israel? Right? Now, we know by basic reports, the world is ran based off what America produced. So if we wake up and we say, hey, wait a minute, this belongs to us. We always been here. Now we are asserting our right to our homeland. This is going to disrupt the narrative of the people in so-called Israel being God's chosen people. Now, Israel is an acronym for Isis, Ra, and El. It don't have nothing to do with no Hebrews. And if it don't got nothing to do with no Hebrews and it's tied to Isis, Ra, and El, that means it's Kemetic in source. Isis is the Greek term for Aset. Aset means the throne. She is the throne. Ra is the father god that enforces the will of the mother god with the solar flares. El is what they call Hebrew now, modern Hebrew term for netter. So they talking about if the children of Isis and Ra, the great mother and the great father, ever wake up, it would spoil the chosen people of God narrative, because God don't choose. God allow you to choose yourself, to be yourself. And because you choose yourself to be yourself, then that means that you exercising your rights from a higher level of jurisdictional supremacy. It's a brother I like to watch. I forgot his name, but one of the things he said is he got a long name with X's and stuff in it. I don't know how to say it, but he said that birthright won't free you, jurisdiction will. The law of the land is the superior law, the great law. And the law of the land say that at the close of the age, we have an absolute right to restore the matriarchy. The matriarchy is important to us because it represents our heritable rights to own the land. We don't really own the land. The land owns us, and we take care of the land. And if we don't realize that we are of the land, from the land, they're going to continue to push this agenda of some people that some sky daddy then chose to be the only people on earth, which always lead me to one question. If you was actually the chosen people of God, why he didn't create a homeland for you when he created you? We got a homeland. We own it. Right? So if we at home and we supplying all of the finances to the so-called Israelis, all of their military is provided from America. All of their espionage bankrolling is coming from America. The CIA created with the KGB and MI5 what we call today the Mossad. They were the prototypes by which the Mossad was developed, right? The Russians rebelled against the Israelis before we did. And that's why they had what was called the Cold War. The Cold War was called the arms race. Who can build the most bombs, right? Now, Putin rise up from the dirt, just like most of us do. And he's seen the same thing Hitler saw. These tiny hats is over there doing the work or the bidding of somebody that they can't see. We call them our moon priests, the unknown priesthood, the secret priesthood that operate in secret because they don't want the public to see who they are, because that would also spoil the narrative. So once you spoil the narrative and the rightful owners step up and say, hey, we have a redemption process. Only one of us have to follow it. All of us don't have to know it. But if one of us follow the redemption process, we're going to end up at a point where they're going to know that we know who we are, we know what side of the water we came from, and we know that there was more than one George Washington. And that the George Washington Challenge was a construct of a secret society that was operating on behalf of European powers. The Royal Europeans was the dirty Moors that came over here. The Royal Americans was the MUUR, the MERS, that was already here, right? And so they're going to push this paradigm because they don't want us to assert our tribal rights Tribal rights just for all of the tribes. No one tribe is bigger than the other under tribal rights. All of the tribes are had to be spoken for, even if you don't like them, right? So we know that we always found a way to work our issues between the warring tribes out when it was just us on the land. But when we had people come over here that's not us, they continue to stoke the flames by infiltration, subversion, and military activities in our communities, which is why they was calling the young black male an endangered species for years. Because they had us killing each other because we didn't know who the real enemy was.
Hey, I got a couple more, Rod. Then we're gonna get out. I gotta get these couple more out because it's some critical pieces right here.
What if I said I didn't think history was real? Hear me out.
Goals. And
why is the government lying to us about history? There is a civilization as recent as 100 years ago that was omitted from the history books called the Tartarian Empire, and it was technologically far superior. They were able to convert atmospheric pressure into electricity, and as a result of unlimited free energy, they were able to direct their focus towards unity, oneness, peace, love, and harmony, which we don't see in today's society as there is no profit for evil people in times of peace. Tartaria was a country with its own government, its own flag, and its own place on the map. Its territory was huge, covering over 3 million square miles, and if you look back far enough, the country exists on maps predating the 19th century. The Great Wall of China, which is located on China's northern border, is believed to have been built by the Tartarians, although history would say otherwise. There are openings on the wall that are only accessible from the north face of the wall, or from Tartaria. The world government destroyed an entire utopia and kept it hidden because they don't want humanity knowing that there is sustainability in the collective without the interference of heads of state.
So all of our history is fake. There were castles and big, massive buildings in America before Columbus in 1492, before he even got here. So if there were already all these massive castles, massive buildings, and all these people before 1492, then how did they have the technology while Christopher Columbus is coming over on those the 3 ships that they used? And where are those ships? How come we don't see those ships? You have Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon in Arizona. So were people from Egypt in Arizona design things the same fashion as Egypt in the Grand Canyon? I mean, think of how far the distance is from that. And how did they travel across to get there? Even if you went by boat, and then you, I guess, went across with a horse and a wagon, or a horse and a chariot, it's going to take you a long time.
I'm not allowed to say certain things, but our world has more secrets than you think. Read our book.
Hey, I gotta ask you a question right here, Rod. So we did the World's Fair cover up, and we did the Tarzian Empire tape already. But they gaslight us into thinking, oh, the people over here were savages. They were living in teepees and running around with thongs on. But they don't talk about the Great World Fair cover-up. 1893 is when Chicago, 1901 Buffalo. I mean, they went on a whole campaign. And we see that these Slavics, who they talking about did all this, they don't even come over to like 1890 something, 1899. So who built all this shit? And then we already proved that it was Nubian black people over here that got enslaved. So why are they trying to gaslight us out of the whole paradigm? It's the whole paradigm of this World Fair cover-up, and we was already advanced. And it had to be some of our own people helping them, because I don't see the Slavics coming over and they weren't even smart enough to overthrow us like that. What's your take on that, Rod?
Man, look, remember we did the one on the castles.
Yep. The castles are turned into prisons.
Prisons, asylums, and state buildings. Right? We've been here, we've been built, we had high technology. But most of that stuff was lost in the war, in a nuclear holocaust that damn near decimated the planet. That's how we end up where we at now.
The Great Reset.
Yeah. So every so often, they have to challenged paradigms. And one of the ways they was doing it, before they dismantled everything, they had to show us with the world fairs what was already here. That's just what they call a living record.
Yeah, they study line, man, with this gaslighting. So and then they gonna talk about, oh, that's how it was made out of plastic, and then we built that in 3-4 days or 2 weeks. And then we knocked it down. Yeah, that's a bunch of crap. Like me and you proved that the Brooklyn Bridge was there before 1492. So who the hell built the Brooklyn Bridge if Columbus didn't come? Yeah, like the Brooklyn Bridge and the Yankee Stadium. The Yankee Stadium was already there. So who building all these big ass coliseums? If they telling us Christopher Columbus came over here, and then how many years was it till they built that type of shit? It's a bunch of crap, man. It's a bunch of gaslight, right?
The White House is a good example of what you're talking about, because they say the White House was supposed to be built by slaves.
Mm-hmm.
The White House was already here. The White House that's why it's so much of it under the ground that people don't even know about, because it's a much larger building than what they're telling everybody. They didn't exhume the whole building, right? But they got recent footage of construction where they would exhume the sizable portion of the underground part.
Mm-hmm.
That was because during one of the wars, where it was an island that used to be in the Atlantic Ocean, where the Bermuda Triangle that got bombed with a nuclear bomb. That's why it sunk. When it got bombed, it created a tidal wave that buried everything under the sludge that became later soil and grew grass, and it looked like a mound. They knew where this stuff was from the ancient records in the Vatican. They got maps in the Vatican basement library that's so old they had to press them between glass to preserve them, because they start crumbling from age, thousands of years old. They got scrolls in Tibet. You can see, if you get a book called Unto Thee I Grant, The Economy of Life, you can see a picture of one of the monks standing in front of ancient scrolls. Those scrolls have historical records that go back millions of years. Right? Humanity has been on the planet way longer than they telling us. That's why that Lucy story is some garbage. Because we had it's buildings all over the world that was contemporary with Lucy, but we don't think they're that old because we don't think we've been here that long.
Hey, you right on the money, Rod. You right on the money. Hey, y'all, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Just got a couple more, Rod. Hey, y'all, we want to show Rod some love for the class. We got the Cash App and PayPal rolling down the bottom. We're going to put it on the screen in a minute. We got a couple more, Rod. And it's another big thing they use in Rod to try to, because guys arguing about this. Let me play these couple clips.
I live at 3392 64th Street, Halo, Iowa.
Oprah was finally in the first series, and we gave her DNA test. Basically, the next day she went to South Africa to announce that she was opening what became the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy. She was in an auditorium like 75,000 people or something, and she announced that she just had the test and that she was Zulu. It broke on CNN. I was sitting in my living room minding my own business and said, Oprah Winfrey's a Zulu. So I called Rick Kittles, and I said, Rick, did you tell Oprah she was a Zulu? He goes, no, man, she made that up herself. It's a true story. It's a true story. I would lie to make you laugh, but I'm telling you a true story. I said, Rick, are you in your lab? He said, yeah. I said, is anybody there? He said, no. I said, when the results come in, make her Zulu, man. I said, you back there making it up anyway. Nobody believe you could take some spit and figure out a tribe? What, are you crazy?
These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul.
When I handed Vi the certificate, she got extremely emotional about it. She wept, and it meant so very much.
People want to believe.
They want to believe they've gotten an answer.
And it's not fair of us to let them believe that we're giving them certain answers, because scientifically, we just can't.
Hank Greeley is concerned that the science isn't really there yet for you to be giving them the name of a tribe.
I think for most companies, I would be concerned too.
But what about your own company?
We have
He
the
didn't
largest,
exclude you. He included you.
but we have the largest set of sequences from Africa. And so with that, we're able to provide some level of probability in terms of frequency.
But he would say that even though you have the largest database, it's still small on the scope of things.
As I said, I share those concerns.
About yourself.
Our DNA.
And that's the rub.
All right, so you took your DNA test?
I was born in Africa. I'm from.
I didn't ask if you were born in Africa. I asked, did you take your DNA test?
You gotta let them finish.
Let me do up. I'm from the Lemba tribe already, so I'm not gonna take a DNA test. When I'm from the Lemba
Then
tribe.
how would they know that I am from the Limba tribe if you're not taking your DNA test? And then how can you tell us that we need to take it if Africans aren't taking it? So you know for a fact that they're lying to us because you're one of the main people that aren't taking it. So who are they even comparing us to say that we are part of the clans, as you say?
When African nationals came to Sierra Leone, they came into the north. Why you have Lembas, you have Sosos, you have Mandingos, you have Timnis. If someone's from Lemba, they took those people's DNA test, and then they came back to they got there in the database and they compared it.
DNA tests are not real. DNA tests cannot be used to find your ancestors because your ancestors aren't here.
This business of genetic genealogy is fraught with limitations. For one thing, it can only provide information about a tiny fraction of our ancestry. Because we get half our DNA from our mothers and half from our fathers, almost all of our DNA gets shuffled and remixed every generation, making it impossible to trace what comes from whom. There are just 2 bits of DNA that remain pure: the Y chromosome, which passes directly from father to son, and something called mitochondrial DNA, which passes unchanged from mother to child. Hank Greeley, a law professor at Stanford University, has studied this new field. He worries that people don't realize just how many ancestors they actually have.
8 generations ago, both you and I had 200.
Hey, we ain't gotta play the whole thing. They get the picture. It's for entertainment purposes only. But you got Pan-African guys like Jabari. He getting up saying, "Oh, my DNA said I'm from Africa. What tribe you from? I'm from a lot of tribes." Man, Rod, what do you think about that, Rod? About these Pan-African guys talking about, "Oh, y'all, did you get a DNA test?"
Look, if I'm gonna take a DNA test, I might as well take a pregnancy test. If I'm gonna take a DNA test, I'm a grown-ass man and expect to find my ancestry. I'm gonna take a pregnancy test to see when the next time I'm gonna have a baby. That's how absurd it sounds to me. It's the same level of absurdity. Listen, when I first came and told everybody that the fine print on there said for entertainment purposes only, people argued us up and down. You remember how they heckled me in the comments?
I remember.
Then we came out to show with the Oprah clip, and then we showed the scientists that was saying that it's entertainment value at best. Then I pointed out the fact that anything that's for entertainment, it can be edited to underline the entertainment value that you're seeking. Right? So I don't get no stock to their DNA analysis. For one, it's like they said, you either gonna have a Y chromosome connection. Well, we know that the oldest Y chromosome is the Perry family. We know that already. And we know that the women, that is 12 distinct chains of mitochondria, 13 distinct chains of mitochondria that traces back to the common mother. They don't have any mitochondria from Lucy, right? The oldest mitochondria they found was a lady in South Carolina.
Yeah, Henrietta Lex.
So if while we sitting here waiting on them to develop some kind of DNA test to prove we from Africa, right? It's like waiting on the next movie to come out. It's still in the making because it ain't been made yet. The DNA analysis that we're looking for haven't occurred yet because they're not doing mitochondrial testing. They're not doing Y chromosome testing. They're doing general genome scoping, right? That means they're just looking at it. And then the only DNA test that really is valid is parent to child because it's the easiest one to read. That means that a paternity test, but paternity DNA test to determine who your mom and daddy is, that's the best they can do. They might be able to find some of your relatives that got the same parents or your parents' parents' children that share the same mitochondria with your mother or the same Y chromosome with your father. But other than that, that's just entertainment. I might as well be the character in one of these superhero movies if I'm gonna be the character in the DNA test. They all entertainment. I'm not entertained. It doesn't entertain me at all. Because I could see through the BS. I know it's all fabricated in order to push a narrative. The only narrative that they want to push is any narrative that can disassociate the original people of this land from being tied to this land. That's it. That's the whole narrative, the whole story of what they're trying to accomplish. If they can't disassociate us from the land, remember I told you, Inca mean people. Most of the names of the tribes, when you translate it to the tribal dialect, mean people. So when we say we the people, it's only talking about the tribes of the land, the original tribes of the land. So we had a right to awaken each other because I am my brother's keeper, I'm my sister's keeper. I'm my mother's guardian. I'm her right-hand man come to bust their ass upside the head. So that being understood, they can't run the same narrative and expect it not to be challenged with facts. Because they even telling you, the people that's doing the DNA is telling you, how can you take a drop of spit and tell you what tribe you is on the other side of the world? The people that's doing the DNA test telling you this. And then you tell me because I say that the DNA test is some fraudulent BS that I don't know what I'm talking about. But the people that's taking the test is telling you they can't do all that. The DNA test is not made for that. It's not designed to do that. Right? They have a better chance reading your DNA to determine what your specialty skill set might be than to determine who your ancestry is. Why you think they keep screaming where your paperwork at? What paperwork you talking about? Your family Bible and your family book before the Bible came over here. The family book used to be a continuous written record of the tribe that was kept at every Big Mama house. Why you think they was burning our houses down like that under the pretense of KKK racism? They knew the Big Mamas. They knew where our banks was. They sent economic hitmen and deified them as outlaw bank robbers so that they can install a central banking system. And the central bank is the 13 provinces that they set up that they was going to use to claim our land as their own if they won the war. I'm sorry, we won, they lost, they can kiss my ass.
Hey, Raw, I got like 3 more videos, then we can get out. I just want to play this because I thought it was interesting about how the Small Hat set up the NWACP, and they that Rosa Parks actually was a CIA agent. Check this out, Raw.
ACP had in fact recruited her in advance, and they said she'll be an ideal plaintiff, and they'd actually said, go sit on the bus in this particular place, and then we'll have the lawsuit against the bus line. It is true that was not, it wasn't like she spontaneously sat down on the bus and then they sued. That doesn't take away from her story. In fact, I think it makes it a cooler story. I think it's cool that they actually were like, okay, we're going to plan this out, we're going to get a good basis for a lawsuit. Rosa Parks is an attractive face for the plaintiff.
Here's some knowledge that I learned from my Jew neighbors. I live in an area where it's highly populated with a lot of Jews, and being the only kind of black over here, I hear a lot of racial slurs that they use towards me, but I turn those racial slurs into learning knowledge about what they're actually saying. Here's part one. The NAACP. Yes, you think it's for the national advancement of colored people, but it was actually put in place to block colored people from advancing. Yes, it is founded and funded by Jews. And the reason why it was founded and funded was to go against Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a black man who's coming over to introduce Pan-Africanism to the United States. The Jews created this to bow to him and basically get him deported back to the country where he came from. And even in his records, it showed that Marcus Garvey blamed the Jews for getting him deported. Now, you guys don't use your brain when it comes to this, because even the highest award in the NAACP is named after a Jew. The first name in the top left-hand corner, the Spring Orange Award, is named after a Jew. Like, at what point are you guys going to wake up and see that they played a major part in our formation years? Even in recent interviews, they have stated that the black culture is the main thing they need to focus on to worry about in the future for Israel and the Jews being progressed here in America. We are their biggest threat. Wake up. Everything that you see is a lie. Do your own fucking research, please. Do your own research. Because you just believe in anybody, but do your own research. Here's proof right here for people that need picture proof, that ask for picture proof. Here's the proof right here. It was never for the blacks. It was never for the blacks. Never. Next topic would be God and relationship.
The NAACP does not speak for the black community. I repeat, the NAACP.
Last one, we'll say that for another class. But look, Ross, so what do you think, like the civil rights movement, small hats was in behind that? The small hats behind NAACP, the Jewish Defense League is starting us. All these guys like Melvin Hertzovich and Rockefeller, all these guys, small hat Zionists. And it seemed like to me, the people that want us to be gassed, and then we just heard the clip where the woman said the biggest threat was the young black youth, which verifies what he said, what the guy just said. So it seems like to me, the people who've been want us to be gaslighted, the middleman, because we found out that these guys are puppet by some dark-skinned guys who want to know their name. So it seems like to me the small hats is real involved with the gaslighting us with the African thing, and pretty much setting us up to maneuver to make them move, put them in the game and maneuver them into our position, pretty much. What's your take on that, bro, before we get out of here?
I'm gonna point something out to you. If you go to study what Elijah Muhammad used to teach, one of the things he said is, "We not the colored people." What? What you mean? We not the colored people? He said the pale face is the colored people. If the pale face is gonna be advanced as colored people, and they trying to convince us that we colored, right? All they have to do is create an organization that look like it's fighting for colored people, because they told us we was colored, but we not colored. What do colored mean? Crayon colors. Red hair, green eyes. Brown hair, blue eyes, right? Even though we have all of that stuff on our genome, what's the backdrop? A coloring book. Go to a coloring book, just color the hair and color the eyes, and you have a colored person. Right? Now, the reason why I brought that up is because when you look at the picture that he was showing, those were the founders of the NAACP. And they was to advance the colored people, or the colorless people, depending on how you want to look at it, agenda, right, of white supremacy. The white supremacy don't got nothing to do with skin color. It's a military doctrine, right? If you want to know how it plays out, get the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, because that's the codex of white supremacy. That's the blueprint they following. If you want to know how to counter the codex, the protocols, then you have to get Neely Fuller's United Independent Compensatory Code System. because now you have a counter offensive to the white supremacist rhetoric. Now remember, the culmination of Marcus Garvey's work played out in the Philippines in the Bang Dong Conference, when all of the 9 so-called white nations of the world got together to form a counteroffensive to white supremacy. Right? That was before Neely Fuller was in the military getting his downloads in Japan on top of the mountain. That's what he told me when I talked to him. Now, when they got together, they started trying to figure out, who are we fighting? Where are they at? Right now, if you look at the Bang Dong Conference time frame, is after World War II. Right? So they know they're not fighting Germans, because the Germans is fighting the same people that we call white supremacists, but they also call them Jews. That's another name for them. And so while we struggling to figure out what's going on, we are being captivated by the entertainment storyline of a slave trade that never existed, in order to disassociate us from the land while we own the land, so we never lay claim to the land by birthright. The oral tradition allows us not to need paperwork to reclaim the land. That's why everything we do has to be notice to agent is notice to principal in the public domain, in the time-stamped archivable format, retrievable for posterity, in order to know that we already told the truth about who we are, why we here, who we up against, what the war was, how we fought the war. It's all in here, Elder. We did it all. Now, it's just a matter of the stragglers that's just now waking up is half crazy. So they're going to come out and attack you because they never heard this stuff before. But the ones that have been around for a while, that had a chance to review and inspect and cross-reference our receipts, they in here in the comments talk about, yeah, that's right, get them, Big Chief, get them. Get them, L, get them. Right? Because they've been seeing enough receipts to know that we're not making none of this stuff up. They told us, but they told us in a roundabout way, and they buried it in the books. And because it was buried in the books, Baba said, go to the library where the lies is burying the truth and dig it out. Right? Larry told us we don't need no more gangbangers. We need some brain bangers. We need somebody to get into these libraries, get into these books, and find the problem solution. I'm not out here because this is recreation for me. It's not recreation. I'm not having fun. I hate social media. I'm out here because this is a mission to awaken as many of us with this stuff as I can. Look, between me and Dane, we were 2 of the first ones that took the brunt of the abuse from our own people about who we were. But since then, Dane been doing it longer than me. And he was an inspiration for me to do my part. And I'm always gonna love Dane Calloway. Can't nobody tell me nothing about, he could rob a dude mama tomorrow. I'm not gonna believe it. I'm not gonna believe it. I'm gonna believe you making it up to set him up. Because I've seen what they do to us. And I've seen how they handle us and mishandle us. So certain people, you can't tell me nothing about them. You can't tell me. I'm not going to go for it. Now, some people might do some stuff that I don't agree with. They got their own life to live. And they got their own path to walk. Because I don't agree with it, that don't make all the stuff I agree with that they said wrong. Right? Now, when I mentioned earlier the dude name I couldn't mention, he was on that panel. Zaya Maru, I forgot the whole thing, but he was on that panel and it was his name across the top. As soon as I seen it, I was like, that's what boy I was talking about earlier when I said I can't remember his name, when he was saying that it's not going to be genealogy to free you, but jurisdiction. If you go back last couple years, I've been talking about the only thing that we can do to overthrow the enemy is to regain jurisdictional supremacy. And the only way we can do that is we need somebody in every tribe to acknowledge what we're talking about to their own tribe, not to us, because we already know this stuff. So it's each one teach one, we all gonna reach some. So as we come out here, put ourselves on the front line of these internet streets and get attacked by all of these people that think they know something that don't know jack, right? As my pops would say, they don't know shit from Shinola. But we still had to do this because we was following the oral tradition. And the oral tradition of the tribes is the oldest communication of tribal law. And tribal law supersedes any written paperwork on the land because we was doing the tribal law through oral tradition before they wrote their first document on this land. If you go to the Indigenous Rights Act, it say we had a right to use our oral tradition. That's not a privilege. And if it's your right and you don't exercise it, that's not their fault. That's yours. All of us need to be on here now that know what's going on. The rest of them don't even got to bring the receipts now because we done already did the receipt side of the thing. They can speak from the heart so that they can get the ones that vibe on their frequency to understand we always been here, gonna always be here. And just because some interlopers interloped at the time they interloped us to usurp the tribes, that don't mean we stop being here. That don't mean that the narrative they gave us is the narrative we gonna follow, right? We know who we are. We know they killed our leaders, and anybody else that told us the truth. We know that they didn't care who it was and what they looked like. If they was telling us the truth, William Cooper, he got to go. David Wilcox, he got to go. Any of them that's telling the truth, yep, any of them that's telling the truth have to go. We don't even realize how many pale faces died trying to get information to transfer from their side of the conflict to our side. They trying to give us all kind of information, and most of us not gonna read, right? Like Ralph Epperson, The Unseen Hand, right? That's almost a 700-page book, right? Yep, The Black Hand. All of these things is necessary to put the puzzle together. It just so happened that I grew up with my mama talking to us in code. So I'm predisposed to tribal code talk. So when you hear a lecture from Malcolm, you hear one thing, I hear something else. When you hear a lecture from Elijah Muhammad, you hear one thing, I hear something else. When you hear a lecture from Farrakhan, you hear one thing, I hear something else. Because I'm catching all of the tribal codes. When I read the writings of Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey, you see one thing, I see something else. Because I'm looking for tribal code talk in the midst of the basic conversation, right? And my whole family been having powwows. My father and my uncle been having powwows since I can remember. I don't know nobody that's not us that throw powwows. I don't know nobody. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm saying I personally don't know nobody that's not us that have a real powwow on a regular basis, right? But I know that we them tribes, and we ain't never stopped having powwows, right? Meeting of the minds, whatever you want to call it, trying to figure out a solution to the problem. I don't know nobody else outside of us that was doing that. So I just had to tell it like it is. We had to get this information out. We had to expose the frauds and the imposters and the infiltrators. Ma'am, I'm telling you, people think I like talking about the dirty Moors, but I don't. My feelings ain't never been hurt as bad as I did when I found out the paleface ain't had no power. And it looked like they reaping all of the benefits of power and they ain't got none. And then I found out that the reason they don't have none, because the people we've been fighting look like us. And they've been using them as proxies to fight a war against us. And half of them didn't even know it either. If not more than half of them. Most of them, as a matter of fact. And the ones that knew, they would give me clues. And they would tell me stuff like, why you mad at us? It was your own people that did it to you. Now, these old people talking to a 10-year-old kid. Right? But look, I lived in Grand Rapids, on the west side of Grand Rapids in the 70s. We was the only melanated family in this Polak Irish community. And I used to sell candy door to door for school. And one time I was selling the candy, and the dude had a KKK stuff all on his, he had like a shrine in his living room. When he opened the door, you can't miss it. And I told him, oh, I'm sorry, I can't sell you no candy. He was like, I don't have a problem buying no candy from him. I was like, no, I don't mess with the KKK. Why? Because y'all don't like us. He started laughing. He said, you mad at us. It wasn't even us. It was your own people that did it. They made my people. They just look like us. They ain't us. But I didn't know what he was talking about till years and years later. He wasn't the only one. I was playing baseball in elementary school, and I hear two Caucasians talking, right? And one of them telling them, we gonna always be looked at as the enemy because they don't even know it's their own people. Now, he wasn't talking to me. I just so happened to be sitting in the dugout while they on the bleachers above me. They don't even know it's a darkie in the dugout because the whole team, except for my brother and me, was paleface. And they sitting right over us in the dugout having the conversation. And I'm listening. And I was like, that's odd. Why would this paleface dude tell this other paleface dude, we gonna be always looked at the enemy because they don't know it was their own people? I'm like, that was weird to me. So I go home, Roots come out. I come home from school, we watching Roots all week. And people at school, they just going crazy on this Roots stuff, right? And I asked my mama, I said, Mama, did we come from Africa? She said, hell no, we ain't no damn Africans. She said, my daddy was an Indian chief. My mama told me, we ain't never been to Africa. Right? So when I used to ask my pops, he'd say, I don't know, but my grandmama was an Indian and she had hair so long when she sat down, when she stand up, it would still be dragging the floor. In Native American culture, she was a big mama. Because that was how she showed her rank, by allowing her hair to grow. It never sat well with me that the most traumatic part of my learning was to find out that some people that look like us was behind this the whole time. I was traumatized on a level I can't explain, Neil.
Hey, a dude told me the same thing a long time ago, right? He was a white boy, like I was at work at Walmart. He told me the same exact thing. Like he said, man, the people that did y'all wasn't us. I couldn't, he said they were some dirty Moors. And look, at the time, I didn't know nothing about dirty Moors. So when he said it, he kind of like offended me. I'm like, who the hell is this dude talking about, right? And then now it's all coming out that dude really, look, he was a dude that he liked me. He always sit with me and talk about all kind of shit. But he told me that, right? The white guy. And I said, man, this dude right here might be tripping, you know. But then now I'm putting it together. Yeah, that dude really was giving me some game. Nigga, I'm talking about like 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. This dude was telling me this when I was working at Walmart. And he was always come sit with me at lunch and we would talk. He would always be reading. He read like on his lunch break, he always read a book. And yeah, man, I used to like talking to him, but like when he told me that part, I was like, man, this dude kind of crazy or something, right? But that dude was right the whole time. He was telling me who was the people that did us look like us, but ain't us. He was telling me the whole damn time, man. I swear to God, a long time ago. Also, hey, Rod, I got one more clip to play before we get out here. Hey, everybody hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Everybody send Rod $25 right now, man, to the Cash App or PayPal. Somebody send him a Honda, you know what I'm saying? A C-note, man, if you got it, man. Show Chief some love, man, till we come back next time. Hey, Rod, I got one interesting I ain't going to play the whole thing. I'm only going to play a couple of seconds of it. But it's about the UN. Shout out to Duke, man, because I saw the Duke play this clip. About the UN declaring war against conspiracy theories. And they're saying that, like the stuff that we just talked about, all these guys being connected some kind of way to the Jewish community. And they ones that gaslighting us, and now they saying that that could be a conspiracy theory. Now listen to this, what they say. It's kind of interesting. Then I'm only play a couple seconds of it.
Okay. Here is a fun article for everybody. This article is about 2 years old, almost.
I'm looking at this shit like, what, y'all? Why the UN declares war on dangerous conspiracy theories, which is us? Talking about the world is not secretly manipulated by global elite. Well, obviously, yes, the fuck it is. What y'all doing all this for? Y'all, this shit is for real. Y'all, this shit is for real. It's talking about the United Nations has declared war on conspiracy theorists, describing the rise of conspiracy thinking as worrying and dangerous, and providing the public with a toolkit to pre-bunk and debunk anybody who dares to suggest that world governments are anything but completely honest, upstanding, and transparent. Man, quit playing. I cannot make this shit up, y'all. It said the UN also warns that George Soros, the Rothschilds, and the state of Israel must not be linked to any alleged conspiracies. They have declared war on us, bro. And it says UNESCO has teamed up with Twitter, the European Commission, and the World Jewish Government to launch the campaign dubbed #ThinkBeforeSharing. Like, talking about this shit is serious. The UN declared war on dangerous conspiracy theories? Man, what the hell? And y'all ain't just
so they coming out now. Right?
Hey, look, her reactions all tickle me. That sister that was talking. Cause she be so sincere. But look, first of all, theory is a proposed concept for scientific evaluation by other scientists. Right? And the other name,
go ahead.
The other name for theory is hypothesis. A conspiracy just means that two or more people participated in the plan and made one attempt to execute the plan. Protocols prove it. All you got to do is say, take the protocols of Zion as you go through each one of the sections that they said they was going to control. Ask you who control it. That's it. The theory becomes an operational fact at that point. It's no longer a theory. So if you can repeat it by different people doing the same investigation, coming up with the same result, that's no longer a theory. That's a fact. That's how you determine a scientific fact versus a scientific theory or a scientific hypothesis. Is it a repeatable study? Everybody, if it's somebody else in another part of the world can look at the same information you looked at and come to the same conclusion, that's not a theory. For them to say they declaring war and they specifically name the Rockefellers, George Soros, and Israel, why would they name them as the targets of the theory of conspiracy if they don't got nothing to do with it? And why would they say, when we know that governments around the world participate in all kind of corruption and debauchery, we have the facts to prove it from other governments outing them. So why would they say that they all upstanding when we know they ain't? Okay, now, the next thing is, who own the United Nations? It's a company. It's a corporation, just like the United States. So who is the founders of the UN? France, the United States, Great Britain. It's like two more of them. It was like 5 founders. Okay? So what was the first overt act of the United Nations? The United Nations was formed at the conclusion of World War II in 1945. They first overt act as the United Nations in 1948 was to annex the West Bank and establish the so-called Nation of Israel. Now, why is that even important? First of all, in order for you to understand why they did it, is how you're going to understand why it's important. It was a response to something called the Balfour Declaration. The Balfour Declaration was an agreement with Britain that if these people, financiers, mulatto Khazarian offspring of the Moors, would finance this war to protect the German Jew from Germany, then they would set them up their own homeland. Now, they settled on the West Bank, but the West Bank wasn't even the first choice. Anybody can look this up. Go to Google and say, before the UN decided on the West Bank, what other places was considered to set up the state of Israel? They're not even all in the Middle East. Right? So the conspiracy theory protest is actually the protest against the ones that's cracking the code and exposing the real conspiratorial network to the general public. The conspiracy theory moniker, where did it come from? It was a CIA COINTEL tag. Anybody that was leaking the truth out to the people, they would call them a conspiracy theorist in the news right before they either give them a criminal charge and lock them up, or they outright killed them. So we ain't really worried about what the United Nations say, because we know that's just a dog and we know who hold the leash. And all of that stuff is just verification and proof that we've been right the whole time that they protesting against us. And that's why the young melanated American is the biggest problem or the biggest threat to Israel. Because if we take our land back, we automatically cut off their finance. Right? The only thing outside of the American financial support of Israel that's keeping them afloat is they stealing the people from Gaza's oil. And they not even using the mainstream channels to sell the oil through OPEC and Aramco. They selling it in the underground like it's drugs, because they don't have a right to sell it. So they can't sell it on the open market. They got to sell it on the black market through backdoor channels. So that's the only reason why they have any money outside of what America give them, and a couple of countries in Europe that's paying them reparations for World War II. You gotta remember, during the whole Cold War after the Bolshevik Revolution, the whole Cold War, go pull out the almanacs and look who was the #1 financial contributors of Russia, and you're gonna be shocked to find out America was financing Russia the whole time. I don't call it the
USSR. That's right.
I don't call it the United Soviet Socialist Republic. I call it the United States with apostrophe S at the end, Socialist Republic, because America paid for it. America bankrolled them. Just like they bankrolling Israel. But they ain't bankrolling Nigeria. They ain't bankrolling Kenya. They ain't bankrolling South Africa. They ain't bankrolling Libya, Morocco, Tunis. Why they bankrolling Israel? Why they was bankrolling Russia? They was pacifying Russia because Russia was the first country to realize who we was and say, hey, y'all need to leave them people alone during colonization. When all of those nations came over here, the first ones to descent, that's what made them end up selling Alaska because they didn't want no parts of nothing going on over here at that point. Because they had already invaded Alaska, Russia did. But when they realized who they was invading, they backed out and sold Alaska to the United States. So the United States is just a corporation. They liquidated their asset to get out of the fight because they didn't agree. A lot of us don't know this because it's not part of the narrative for them to teach us this. And so we be sitting here, and you have to go down the path called obscure history, revisionist history, and history at a second look. Because a lot of the mainstream history is purely educational and academic fabrication. You got to remember, before 1900, only about 2% of the world was literate. So who was doing all of the writing? Secret societies. Because you had to be in a secret society for a person to be willing to teach you how to read. Right? So, and if you was going to be a book writer, you needed a financier. How do we know this? Study Khalil Gibran, Lebanese poet, author of The Prophet. Right? You'll find out it was two ladies. One name was Maziata and the other one was named, I think her name was like Mary Haskell or something, that financed him to write his poetry. It was the same. That's why they call them starving artists, because if you didn't have a support of somebody wealthy, you couldn't participate in your art because you had to participate in day-to-day living. You had to work the farm. It wasn't no leisure for you to explore your artistic talent without a financier. For your intellectual outlet, you needed a financier. All of those books we see from the 1800s and before, all of those books was controlled out and released by secret societies. It wasn't until people started in the 1900s coming up with their own printing presses and printing their own materials like J.A. Rogers do we get alternative perspectives of what's being done. Right? We had a couple of newspapers that they shut down, burnt them up, right? Because that was critical for communication. That's why the Elijah and Malcolm started Muhammad Speaks. Before that, Noble Drew Ali used to put out a newsletter. I forgot what the name of it was, like the Moorish Star or something. I don't remember. But Marcus he had his own. Yeah, and Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey used to put out his own newspaper. Anybody that was putting information out like that, they was a problem. If you can't control the information they putting out, that's why the Rockefellers bankrolled the textbooks, so they can control what goes in them in order to control the narrative.
Hey, David Walker's appeal.
Yeah. David Walker was right. That was an open letter to all of the chiefs on the land. That blew my mind when I read that, because he was talking about who these people that they have in bondage on our land. They didn't look like us. But who was they? Where they come from? But people not go even when they read David Walker's appeal today, they gonna think they talk about us. They ain't gonna know that he asking why these pale-faced people was in bondage on our land. And that go back to earlier when you brought up about them coming over here as serfs. Most of us don't know that another name for slave is serf. And vassals. The vassal villages was populated by the captives of war. And the only ones that they would keep was the children. And then they would set them up in villages, and then they would go to go watch the Robin Hood movies. Watch that movie with Martin Lawrence when they called Martin the Moor, and he was looking at him like, what?
Yeah, Black Knights.
Right? So they tell us just all these little clues. Watch Mel Brooks' History of the World. They're going to tell you it's a chess game played with people, but they're going to tell it in parody. Right? Remember what Eminem said in that song on 8 Mile? Right? He said, a lot of time I joke about being the best, but we all know a lot of truth is said in jest. Right? So they telling you in comedy, in satire, in drama, in theater, the real deal. But a good example, Cicely Tyson in that family reunion movie, the speech at the end of the movie, that wasn't in the script. She freestyled that. She was talking to all of us. That wasn't just for the movie. She was the Iroquois high priestess. That's why that part that she talking to Robin Givens in Women of Brewster's Place, that wasn't in the script when she said she wasn't supposed to say that. But being true to her tribe and true to how they operate, every opportunity she got to slide something in and tell people who we are, she did it. She wasn't the only one. It's in the music. You ever hear this song called I'm Just an Outlaw, Baby? An outlaw. That's talking about the tribes. The tribe was called outlaw tribes because they had nothing to do with American judiciary until they got done conquering the land. Or they didn't really conquer it, gave the people the illusion of conquest.
The Seminoles never gave up. They ain't never turned into these guys.
Look, the term Seminole mean half-breed. But they tell you it mean runaway. It's a compound word. The first part is semi, which means half or part of something. The second part is noles, right? Which means natal or birth, half breed. And that was the name given to us by the Spanish, but they tell us now that it was Cimarron. Cimarron is a whole different word. And then we didn't even refer to neither one of them terms. We said that's Gullah Wars. Because there was the Gullah Geechee Big Mama that called us to war. That's why we called it the Gullah Wars. So we would know who called us to war. A Carolina Big Mama from the Gullah Geechee tribe, who was the reigning Big Mama of the land at the time. And she got some kind of spirit message from somebody on the island and said they coming. And that's the same reason why Sitting Bull, Christopher Wallace, had to take that public lashing from Tupac Amaru, because he was sitting on his post and he didn't alert nobody that the imposters and the frauds and the usurpers was coming when they got past his gate. And the only reason why you know is he got to show you that his skill set would allow him to be a formidable competitor. But because he sat on his post, he had to take the public lashing, which goes right back to what we were talking about earlier with Nip. That's why they had to choose Shitty Cuz to be the so-called shooter. It's all tribal. And if you don't know the tribal code system, go back and watch the movie Code Talkers, I think is what it's called, about the Navajo code crackers that they was using in the war. But it wasn't them. They looked like us. But in the movie, they paint them like $5 Indians. It is what it is.
That's the same thing with that dude Wild Bill, who was had that little show set up where he was it was like a psychological gaslighting where he was taking these Slavics and these other guys and dressing them up like us and parading them around like they us. They used Hollywood too. The Dirty Moors took over Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? That's how they was promoting this $5 Indian worldwide as the indigenous. When everybody look, everybody, and it's the killer, bro. A lot of people around the world, besides us, they know who we are. Like the Africans, they know who we are. A lot of these people know who we are, but some of them they laugh at us and just don't want to tell us, right? But they know who we are. They know exactly who we are. They told Malcolm X when he went over there, "Hey man, you coming over here? You ain't from over here." Then he come back talk about, "Hey man, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he figured it out. Malcolm X figured it out. That's one reason why the small has put the play on. You know what I'm saying? It seems like the small has put plays on everybody. Go ahead.
That's one of the reasons why they try to dissuade the original people from this land from traveling abroad. Because when you go overseas, like I talk to people that's foreigners that came over here, I can recognize a foreigner that look like us, and if they in a pack of us, I could tell you which one ain't from here. Right? I used to do it in the joint. They used to be like, "How do you even know?" I was like, it's in his swag. It's in his how he operate, how he move. They don't move like us. I got a friend in Grand Rapids. He from the Mende tribe, Sierra Leone, right? And before we got cool, the first time I seen him, we was out on the yard sitting on the picnic bench. It's about 15, 20 of us. I'm out there with some Saginaw Indians, some Benton Harbor Indians, some Bay City Indians. He come walking out the dorm. He just got there. And I'm looking up at him. I'm saying, "Who's that dude, man? He ain't one of us." They all looked at me like, "What you mean?" I said, "That nigga is from overseas somewhere. I don't know where he from. He not from here." Right? So one of the guys at the table, he was a Grand Rapids Indian, which is Ottawa territory, Ottawa Indian. He said, "Oh, that's my homeboy. He from Grand Rapids." I said, "Nah. He from somewhere else. He just live in Grand Rapids." So he called him over there. Come here, Fadia. He said, "Where you from?" He said, "I'm from Grand Rapids." I was like, "Nah, where you originally from?" He said, "All my people come from Sierra Leone. We Mende." The whole table, like whiplash, looked at me like, "How the hell you know that?" I know my people. I've been here so many lifetimes. If somebody behaved with a different nature than ours, I can see them. I don't need no DNA test to see him. I just know how we operate. I know how we walk. I know how we talk. No matter what part of the land we from. If a Cali dude came to my city right now and I just so happen to pass him, I'd be like, "Yeah, that's bro from Cali." If it's a New York dude and I see him, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, he a New Yorker." I might not know what borough he from because I'm not good enough to differentiate the subtleties in Bronx, Harlem, lingo and swag. So if you're from New York, I can recognize a New Yorker being from New York, and he might not have been there for 25 years. I do it all the time, just in general conversation, not even realizing what I'm doing until I start doing this work, and then I look back on it, I'm like, "Man, I've seen dudes. I'd be like, 'Man, you look like you from New Orleans.'" He started laughing. "Yeah," he said, "I was born here, but my mom and daddy from New Orleans." How I know that? I don't know how I know that. I don't know how I know that. Look, I done had dudes come from different parts of the country and I tell them where they from and still don't know how I knew that where they was from. But I knew where they was from. It's just innate. We know the energy signature that comes from different parts of the land. And if we can't match that energy signature to none of the parts of the land, he from overseas. I could spot a Jamaican dude 15 blocks away. I ain't never been to Jamaica, but I can tell you he's Jamaican. Now, the only time I get confused is a Dominican and a Haitian can be standing there. I couldn't tell them apart unless the Dominican was light-skinned. But if a Dominican and the Haitian standing together, I couldn't tell them if they just standing there. being they self and name, and one of them don't tell me, no, he's from Dominican, I'm from Haiti, I won't know them apart. But it's the same island.
The same people.
Yeah, and the ones that threw me off because I thought they was Jamaicans, but they wasn't, was the ones from Belize. I had a hard time distinguishing.
Hey, you right, Rod.
Yeah, I had a hard time distinguishing Belizeans from Haitian, from Jamaicans. But I could see a Jamaican standing with a Haitian, and I'd be like, oh, there's a Jamaican and Haitian dude standing right there. I don't know why I know that. I don't even know how I know that. But it's just something that I know as soon as I see him. Right? And I know why I know New Orleans people because I done been there. I know why I know Mississippi people because I used to live there. Right? I know why I know people from Chicago because that's where I was born. But I don't know why I know people from other parts of the land that I hadn't been to as growing up. But when I get grown, like I met some girls when I was on the Army base from Carolina. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, they from down south, but I couldn't tell what part of the South they was from. Right? But when they started talking, I said, they from the South, but they not from Mississippi, Alabama, or Louisiana. What part of the South y'all from? And then they say, we from Kakalaki. I said, Kakalaki? What the hell is that? And they started laughing. And they said, that's Carolina. They said, but I'm from North Kakalaki. She from South Kakalaki. That's why they was jammed on the Army base. I was staying with my sister. But most of the time I see somebody, it'll just come out. I won't even be thinking it. It'll just be in the conversation and I'll identify where they from. I know my people. You can't know your people if you don't love your people.
Hey, there you go, Rod.
And you can't love your people if you love yourself.
Yeah, and that about wraps it up, Rod. We had about 9,000 people on the night. Hey, y'all, this was a good one, man. This was a needed class because we got this is the end of the gaslight, man. We know who we are. You can't tell us shit about who we are. Tamahoos, none of y'all. Nobody from somewhere elsewhere to come tell us who the hell we are, right? With this gaslight shit no more. After this, we don't want to hear no more Jabaris, no more Dr. Umars, none of y'all. If they keep continuing it after this, we see that they either just don't give a damn, they either ignorant or they in on the shit. They in on it. And that's usually the case.
I'm about to clip what I'm about to say out, put it on TikTok and tag Dr. Umar. When we send the Moors back to Morocco, we're gonna get them to reserve him a seat to drop his ass off in Ghana where he got his citizenship at since he don't belong here. You see if we can catch a ride with the Moors going to Morocco because they don't belong here either. They belong in Morocco.
Hey, which Moors you talking about? Because I'm a Moor and I'm a Washita, and we got the biggest land on the land. Hey, hold on, let me play a clip for you, bro, before we get out of here. Since you said that.
Let me say this. The ones that don't belong here, that want us to think we from somewhere else, them the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah, you got to make a distinction because nowadays, when you say that, because we just read the George Washington challenge, and he said he gonna trick the Moors. And I can play you this clip. Listen to this clip right here before we get out of here, because I'm glad you brought that up. Because when you start saying dirty Moors, you got to make a clear distinction. Yeah. You got to make a clear distinction because we got the biggest tribe on the land, Washita.
Anyone
this right here.
Now, for everybody that was doubting, let me show you where the CDC lists all the American Indians under Moor. If you go to their website, as you can see on the screen, and you type in Moor, like you see me do, and just follow these links. You see what I'm showing you here? We're going to tap Moor. I'm going to zoom in. See where it says parent-child relationship type, Eastern tribes. Boom. Watch this. Now you see these Eastern tribes, right? Those are just the Eastern tribes. Now watch what happens when I hit American Indian. Boom. We're gonna scroll and zoom in a little bit. These are all the tribes: Cree, Delaware, Creek, Iroquois, Abenaki. It has everything right here, and I didn't even open those up to see the sub tribes. We're just gonna back out after I get here, so you can see exactly where I got this from, so you can go see it for yourself. So for all the so-called Native Americans out there, we Moors. I mean, it don't get much more black and white than this. And this is the CDC telling y'all who we are, not Mac. The CDC, race and ethnicity, CDC. It's on their website. Just go type in more. Peace.
Hey, Rod. Hey, we also, because when they said they gonna see, when you say you're gonna send the Moors back the way you said, when we just read the George Washington challenge, that you'll be agreeing with George Washington, sending the Moors back to Africa. That's the same. That breaks down the whole fucking paradigm. Look, this is what I'm telling you, Rod. The people that you talking about, I don't even think that they Moors. They are avatars, reptilian avatars. That's what they are. Just like the movie Avatar. They look like us, but they ain't us. So they can't be no Moors because we the Moors. We are the mound builders over here in America. So that what you saying, I always say what you saying, like some dirty suckers, but to me, they ain't even Moors. They are people who came over who in avatars and they fucking reptilians and they drink blood and they eat children. The real righteous Moors aren't doing that. So yeah, you gotta be very careful when you say, "Oh, we're gonna send the Moors back." Because when people hear you, they go to talk about all the Moors. All Moors going back. Moors. We don't origin from no Africa. The Moors do not origin from Africa. They origin from America. Not just like George Washington challenge just said. So we can't sit up here and do that. What you doing? You can't sit up there and do that. I understand what you're saying, but when you said somebody in the crowd take that shit as all Moors going go. We ain't Moors. We ain't Moors because Rod said the Moors going back to Africa. So yeah, because when suckers do that, they come in the comments and do that shit. So yeah, I don't like it. I don't like. I understand what you're saying. But yeah, the Moors can't go nowhere because they're from America. The Moors are the original Americans. The Moors are the original Americans, and we can debate that. I got a whole fucking a whole slide that why we can debate that. Because like I say, you got to go study Turner versus U.S. Them were Moors, and they won the land back of the Washington, Louisiana Purchase. That's the biggest fucking plot of the land, and that's the biggest tribe on the land, the Washita Moors, just like the Emperor said. So yeah, man. Yeah, that's the only thing I would disagree with. Yeah, you can send some dirty jokers back who Zionists, but they ain't no Moors. They avatars and reptilian skin, and they drank blood and eat humans. We wasn't doing none of that shit over here. That's why we kicked. That's why Akmos and Cockmos kicked their ass from off over here.
Let me say this. I need you to pay attention. How long have we been being called Moors?
Man. Amaru, like if you don't like the word more, how about the Amaru? It translates into more.
Listen, go back to the video we did and review the catch term Moor, where we went over the history of being called Moors. We did the video.
I listened to it, Rod. We did the video. I don't think nothing you can say, Rod. No disrespect. I don't think nothing you can tell me that the more term don't matter when it's the killer clowns and all these people. Look, we call ourselves Indians, we call ourselves Crips, Bloods, Gangster Disciples, all that shit. But they don't get mad at that. But as soon as we say more, they want to take us out. When Doc starts saying more, people want to take us out. When Jeff Fort started doing it, it's just, you know what I'm saying? You got to be extra careful when you said, the Moors this and that. You got to be precise. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying, you man.
I'm an old Mississippian, and I'm not.
You said what you said. They overthrows the George Washington challenge. That he was going to trick the Moors, the children of the Moors, to make them think that they was from somewhere else. See what I'm saying?
But he grouping two different groups of people together under that banner.
Yeah, them other people look like us, but they ain't us. They ain't no Moors. They claim to be Jewish, the jewelers, but they're
Hold
not.
on.
They are the synagogues of Satan.
I don't care who they is. They ain't us and I ain't them. All I'm telling you is if you want to be called a Moor, you have the prerogative to be called a Moor. That's your self-identification. I'm not no Moor. I'm old Mississippi. I'm Mississippi Clay Dirt Walker. The term Moor was used to fight a war. I'm not no part of that war. I'm just telling the people where the war was being fought. And if the ones that claim Morocco, they can get on their ship and take their ass back to Morocco with the rest of the ones being kicked off the land. And while they getting kicked off, they can take Dr. Umar unapologetically African ass and drop his ass off in Ghana where he got his citizenship at. And since he ain't from over here either. That's all I'm saying. I don't care nothing about being worried about being called who called the Moor and who not called the Moor. I'm past that. I already fought that fight. I'm not fighting that fight again. You can call yourself whatever you want to. I'm not no more. I'm an old Mississippian. And I just so happened to come up through the growth.
Like I know we was old Mississippians, but yeah, never mind, Rod. You gonna have your own perspective on it. That's the only thing I disagree with, Rod. That you say.
We grown men. We're not supposed to agree on every single detail about everything. You forgot? We supposed to have something that we hold for ourselves that we want to hold on to as part of who we are. And if you want to be called the Moor, then you absolutely have that right. I'm not gonna take that from you or try to. All I'm saying is the Moors that claim Morocco can take their ass back to Morocco. That's all. That ain't saying nothing bad about them. It's just saying they claim they from Morocco. Take your ass home, so we can rebuild over here. What's with all of these different colonizers and screwed up? That's all I'm saying. And all of the ones that want to go back to Africa and claiming that they ain't gonna never be free to Africa, free need to take their ass over there and free Africa, like these tribes is working to free us over here. I ain't got no attachment to being called a Moor. My attachment is to Mississippi and growth and development. And outside of that, that don't got the rest of it. The Moors inside the Moorish sciences, wherever they at on the land, can come together and figure out which ones is Amaru and which one of them is Moray. That don't got nothing to do with me. I'm just telling them where the war being fought. And the ones that identify with Morocco can take their ass back to Morocco. That's all I'm saying. And Dr. Umar can take his unapologetically African ass to Africa with all of his knowledge and his psychological training and start helping to free Africa and leave us the hell alone. And all of the rest of them that want to be from Africa, take your ass back to Africa and free Africa, because they fighting for their freedom over there. You over here trying to stop us from fighting us for our freedom. You can take your ass to Africa so you can be part of their freedom fight, since we ain't gonna never be free to Africa be free. If you, all of the ones that feel like that, take their ass over to Africa and fight for African freedom, then we could get this a whole lot faster. And all of the ones that want to come on the slave ship can leave on the ship. I ain't come on no slave ship. My bloodline been here since life been here. So I ain't worried about none of those Johnny come lately terminologies. More is a catch term. It's a after the fact thought up idea in order to group multiple groups of people under one name. They ain't all the same, but the ones that identify as Moroccan Moors can take their ass back to Morocco and with Tipper Tib and them from and be part of their community over there, because they can't stay here. I don't care where they go. They don't even have to go back to Morocco if they don't want to. But if that's where they don't, if they not from over here originally, they can get the gone. I don't care. I'm not attached to the word Moor. The word Moor has no attachment to me whatsoever, other than identifying where the war is being fought. It was fought under the banner of Moor, M-O-O-R. and it included people from varying different groups. So I'm not stuck on that. And I can't tell you not to call yourself a Moor if you want to call yourself a Moor. Malachi called himself a Moor.
Noble Jew Ali called himself a Moor.
Called
himself a Moor.
Yeah, so that's because they was fighting that war at ground zero. I'm not at ground zero. I already surpassed that ground zero warfare. We on some whole other stuff now. I don't care nothing about no Moors. Whatever they want to do, if they ain't recognizing the women, they dirty Moors. Period. If they ain't got the sheikesses up there trying to put the Moorish women's consulate out front where they supposed to be when they uplift fallen humanity, they the dirty Moors trying to stop the rise and the return of the matriarchy. Period. I don't care nothing about that stuff like that. I'm not attached to none of that. It don't hold no emotional weight with me whatsoever. But for somebody else, I can't tell somebody else. I got friends that's Moors. I got people that I respect and love that hold on to the title of being a Moor. I don't tell them I can't talk to you because you're a Moor. I don't do that. Right? I meet them where we got common ground. Me and you've been doing this for years. We got at least 3 years under our belt. And we right. So we done went through a whole lot of information. And I'm not stuck on being called a Moor because I know it's just a catch term. And that it's just used to fight a war. So I'm not finna be associated with being a Moor because the war didn't have nothing to do with me. I just got caught up in it because it's on the land that I'm on.
Hey, anybody, to me, if you ain't a Moor, you can't tell me shit about the Moor. If you ain't no Moor, you can't tell me nothing about the Moor. Like that's just my perspective, right? And so, yeah, man, I'm a Moor from this land. I'm a Moor from this land. I'm indigenous to this land, and we are the mound builders. We the ones that build the mounds. So the old Mississippians were mound builders. Right. So yeah, man, it's a lot, you know what I'm saying? But it's tricky shit going on because like I said, I noticed we can call ourselves, you can call yourself old Mississippians, all that shit, but they ain't concerned about that. They ain't concerned about you calling yourself that. Like Doc said, they only concerned about you calling us. Why they get mad? Why do the enemy, the people who you say that doing all this shit, why do they get mad when we refer to ourselves as Moors? They don't get mad when we call ourselves Indians. They don't get mad when we call ourselves Mississippians, Christians, Crips, Bloods, none of that. They only get mad at us. They only turn their face up and turn into goddamn zombies when we say, oh, I'm a Moor. Then they offended. Why? So it's got to be something to it. There's got to be something to that George Washington challenge. There's got to be some reason why these gatekeeping suckers who started the COINTELPRO is always they got a big ass library. The most shit in their library is after the Moors. And not no damn look, the Moroccan thing, that place was called Al Madrid, the land of the far west or the far east, right? So yeah, man, we went over there to set up an outpost to trade with the Africans. That land, that's the only connection. Them people, the real Moors are not from no damn Morocco. So the people that's promoting that, unless you're gonna say, oh, this is Morocco, let's say could they too. I'm saying I'm ancient mound builder, a Washita Moor, whether you want to spell it M-O-O-R or M-U-U-R. It don't really make no difference to me. Because, like I said, and I'm gonna do just because of this, I'm gonna do a whole presentation. I already did a whole bunch of presentations on this shit, but yeah, you can call yourself not a Moor. You say you an old Mississippian. You say this and that, but yo, I don't know what to say after that, man. Because like I said, they don't give a damn what you call yourself. You can call yourself all them names you just said, but these motherfuckers get mad when we say Moor. They come out to you when you say Moor. They load in on you. And like I said, the people who you talking about, they not no damn Moors. They are reptilians and avatars, just like the movie Avatar. Some suckers will put on look like us, come just like you said, and come over here and say, "Oh, we Moors." They put on our face and call themselves Bay, sit right next to us, but they the whole time they some goddamn some reptilian devils or some satanic suckers. The whole time they're not the original mound builders. The original mound builders come from America. Just why George Washington was trying to trick us to thinking we were from Africa, thinking we was from Europe or the Iberian Peninsula. That's the shit that the white guy told all these dirty suckers told you. That's the truth, man. And that's just my truth. You can stick to what you stick to. I'm gonna stick to what I'm stick to. I'm a goddamn more, right? I'm a more. Bottom line, and that's it. That's all.
Okay,
We
now
can close out. Hey, go ahead, bro.
you asked the question, and I'm gonna answer you. Why do they get so upset when we call ourselves Moors? The ones who remember, I told you the war was being fought under the banner of Moor. The ones who refer to themselves as Moor are identifying themselves as the key combatants in the internal conflict, and them the ones that they don't want to wake up the most. And so they attack them the hardest because they the ones that's actually trying to figure this stuff out, whether they the righteous Moors or the dirty Moors. One group is trying to stop the other group from finding out who is who. But I'm not finna be tagged with a term that only go back 250 years when my people been here for thousands. That's
I disagree
but
with that. The meaning of the term.
last thing I gotta say before we go, L. Remember, I told you, grown folks don't have to always agree on every detail of everything because we got our own minds and our own way we look at the world, our own worldview. I don't identify with more for my own reasons, but I don't have respect for certain Moors because they respectable. You understand what I'm saying? And certain Moors, I'm not gonna never give them no respect because I see through their game. I don't have I love Asir Dukateers. I love Kush Day, right? I love Taj Tariq Bey. They Moors. And I don't never tell them they can't call themselves no Moors. All I be dealing with as far as where they concerned is the difference between the righteous Moor and the dirty Moor. Outside of that, I don't have nothing to say about the Moors. The only time I even bring them up is when I'm distinguishing what the righteous Moor and the dirty Moor's differences is. The righteous Moors is coming from a different place than the dirty Moor. The dirty Moor want to suppress us all. And the reason the government react to the term Moor is because they all under one banner. And they can't get the righteous ones sometimes without attacking some of their own in friendly fire. I don't have no attachment to that, but I don't have no extreme aversion to it either. Right? I'm not against all of the people that call themselves Moors, because most of the ones that's the real warriors in this game have been calling themselves Moors. Right? Because they fighting this war of the George Washington challenge, which erased our memory of who we was. And now we trying to exhume our nation from the ashes of what was stolen from us. So I'm not gonna refer to myself as a Moor, and I'm an old Mississippi and I'm growth and development. That's my land, that's my people, right? I'm not a vice lord, but I love vice lords. I'm not a peace stone, but I love the stones. Because I know their history. I know who they are on the land without any external interference. But when the external interference come in, it's going to irk my ears and I'm going to attack that shit. Right? The outside interference. The prevention of us from self-identifying. I'm not going to never tell you can't identify with whatever term that you want to use to identify yourself with, because you're a grown-ass man and you got that right. And I can't take that right from you, even if it's your right to be wrong. It's your right. I can't interfere with that. All I could do is tell the truth where I see it at. I'm not gonna get offended when people talk about they from Morocco. I'm just gonna tell them go back to Morocco. If they African and unapologetically, take your ass back to Africa. But I'm over here where my people at, and this is where my fight is. My fight not in Africa. My fight is in the Americas. If my fight was in Africa, I would be in Africa right now, and I wouldn't be over here on social media having this conversation with you, because Africa is so easy for us to with what we done went through over here. We can be more. If we was in for selfish gain, we can gain more selfishly in Africa than we can over here, without being stopped before we get to a higher level. Over here, anytime we try to rise up, we only can get so far before they try to cut us down. I don't care nothing about that stuff like that, El. It's not that serious to me. It's not gonna never get an emotional knee-jerk reaction out of me when people say they are more. Right? I'm gonna watch how they move, and I'm gonna know what kind of more they is based on that. But other than that, I'm not emotionally attached to it like that. Right? And only reason why I even discuss them is because it's part of the historical record that they had to be discussed at the close of the age. I wouldn't even talk about them if I didn't have to. I wouldn't even mention them. Right? But when it's something that Angel Bay ain't here to speak on, I'm gonna speak on it. Because I'm supposed to. Not because I'm anti-Moore or pro-Moore, because the chief that's supposed to clean that house up is indisposed because of the government corruption. Right? So I don't take it that way. I recognize other people's right to believe what they want to believe and identify how they want to identify. I don't take that from nobody. I just know for me, the ones that claim they Moroccans and they Moors from Morocco can take their ass back to Morocco. That's all I'm saying. And they can drop Dr. Umar ass off where he got his citizenship in Ghana on their way. Because they can just swing right on around and they won't be going too far out the way to drop his ass off too. That's all I'm saying. So you don't have to get I'm not the one heckling us in the comments about the Moorish information, Moorish doctrine. Right? We didn't win over too much information. You should already know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I'm just letting you know where I come from. I come from the Washington Moors.
If I don't know where you come from by now,
mound builders.
If I don't know where you come from, if I don't know what your perspective is by now, I don't think you're gonna be able to explain it to me. But I'm pretty sure that I understand your point and I understand where you coming from with what you're saying. I don't have no problem with that, or else I wouldn't be doing these shows with you if it was an issue with me and you calling yourself a Moor. If that was an issue, that's not an issue with me, right? I study with Moors. One of my homeboys, Chris Glover Bay, was one of my study partners in jail. Hart Eel gave me some of the most potent books to read. Dyson Bay, which is brothers to Eric Dyson Bay, who put me on the phone with him in the joint. Them guys, I love them guys like brothers, and they Moors. So that it's not just. I'm not just blanket statement all Moors. By now you should know when I talk about getting rid of a motherfucking Moor, he got to be a dirty Moor. And you've seen me many times stop and say, I have to clarify that there's a difference between a righteous Moor and a dirty Moor, because I done it hundreds of times on these shows.
Yeah, but you didn't do that when you said send the Moors back. You should have said send the dirty Moors back. You just said Moors. So when people in the comments hear it, they say, oh, the Moors are all dirty. And that's not the case.
Listen, that's because they ain't listening to us long enough to have an opinion about what I'm saying yet. So we clarifying it now.
Okay, I'm glad you did that.
We clarifying it now. I don't care what they identify as, but I know this: when I speak up, I got to speak for all the tribes. And when I got my brother-in-law, my brother a Moor. He identifies as a Moor. He my brother. He a whole Mohawk chief, and he identifies as a Moor. So it ain't that. But the ones that keep claiming Morocco can take their ass back to Morocco. That ain't nothing wrong with saying that. Because wherever you from, that's where your birthright gonna come to you at. Your birthright not gonna come to you on foreign land. That's why they doing all of this ICE movement and kicking people out the country, right? Because they have to send people where they gonna get their birthright, because it's coming. And the matriarchal order is going to restore more people back to their birthright than ever before, and you have to be where you're supposed to be in order to get what's rightfully yours. It's like trying to give somebody something here in his seat. You know, you passing out stuff in the classroom, and the kid don't come to school today. You don't leave his on his desk because he ain't there. Well, it's the same thing. Wherever you from, you need to get your ass where you from so you can get your birthright. If your birthright is in Morocco, you can take your ass back to Morocco.
Them ain't no Moors. Them Africans. They ain't no Moors. They Africans. That's an African. If you saying
it don't matter. Listen, they identify as Moorish Moroccans. That's what they tell me they is. So they can take their ass back to Morocco and be Moors in Morocco.
They ain't no damn Americans. They Africans then.
They can. Morocco is in Africa.
Yeah, so they Africans. They ain't no original mound builders.
Well, I ain't said nothing about no original mound builders. You the one brought the mound builders into this.
Yeah, because the mound builders are the Moors.
No. Yeah. I'm a Mississippian mound builder, and I'm not a Moor.
Well, yeah, that's your opinion, Rod. But I'm gonna do it for another presentation. You probably don't give a damn about it, like you say. You don't give a damn anyway about it. But you know, it's just that's what we disagree at on that part. The original, the emperor said it. Everybody.
Yeah, I don't have no feelings about being able to disagree on that particular point, and let you can have that part, and I don't have to participate in the part I don't agree with, and you have to participate in the part you don't.
I can't make you agree. That's right.
And Young L still gonna be my guy, right? And,
I ain't mad. I ain't mad at you. Like Tupac, I ain't mad at you.
Look, I just don't.
I just gotta stand up. You either stand for something or you fall for any goddamn thing. So, hey, look, I'm standing on. Hey, I'm a Moor. I'm a indigenous Washita, and it's a whole bunch of sister tribes that include into that, like the Chata, the Apache, the Yokota people. All of them was counted as Washita in that landmass called Louisiana Purchase. So I agree with a lot. Just about everything you say, Rod. But that part right there about to me, if you ain't a Moor, then you ain't American. You something from somewhere else. That's my opinion. Because the word American even translate into the land of the Moors. For the suckers that's in the when you translate it out, Amaru Khan people are the Moors, all the ancient mound builders. And that's another way of saying it. The Spanish said Amaru, which means the plume serpent people. And if you study that, you'll see that the plume serpent is it's like the spiraling up. It's the representation of those stepstone pyramids, the plume serpent people. So it connects back, and what the meaning of it is, the real meaning, because I heard a whole bunch of people say what the meaning of it is. The meaning of it is the enlightened ones. That's what it really means. The enlightened ones. That's what more really means. The people from the like Oranos are like is dealing with the rising of the sun or the information. Yeah, I already broke all this down. I got a tape call of the origin all on the origin of the word more. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, you gotta be specific. Them suckers that you talking about going back to Morocco, they Africans. They ain't no Moors. They Africans.
I don't know. I know
Morocco is in Africa. So you going say you from Morocco, then you an African.
I know they be coming in the comments heckling both of us. So
yeah, they heckling right now. It's people that's saying, "Oh yeah, man," you know, some people agreeing with me, some people agreeing with you, but yeah, it's just, hey, they don't, like I say, we can just agree to disagree, but we agree on more than we disagree on. So that's the good point. We agree on more than we disagree. Really, I only disagree with you on that one thing. That's it, really. Everything else is we on the up and up. But yeah, Rod, I didn't want to hold you this long. We almost hit 4 hours on this shit, man. This is crazy. Yeah, man. Shout out everybody in the crowd. Everybody send Rod $25. Yeah, this is back if I'm glad we had this conversation live, Rod. Everybody sent Rod $25. Somebody sent him $100 right now, y'all. Some people say, yeah, man, everybody gonna have their own opinion, like I say. But hey, go watch the breakdowns I did on the origin of the Moors. I did a breakdown on the origin of the Moors and how they got taught by the people that was the children of the Gigi who got taught all this shit about navigation and all that. They the ones that would build the boats and start selling around. Now we went to Africa and started civilizing people over there. We went to Europe from over here and started civilizing people in Europe. So it could have been like you could say, oh, look, but I don't even agree that them people were Moors because the real Moors got overthrown. That's why we in this predicament. They got overthrown in Granada by the Spanish Inquisition. That's why if they would have never got overthrown, the righteous Moors over in Granada, we wouldn't even be probably talking arguing about this now. That's all I'm saying. Some people saying, "Yeah, relax." No, nigga, I ain't gonna relax because I'm tired of people doing it. I'm tired of people talking about when they say more, they don't be, you know what I'm saying? They don't go into like, oh yeah, we're talking about these some niggas from over there. No, you're talking about some goddamn Africans, the same suckers who was they was the ones that was selling people. Yeah, man. Over here, we was all good. We had ancient technology before 1492 over here. Who was doing that? The enlightened ones. That's why they stole our seal and used it on the back of the dollar for talking about the Illuminati. We the real Illuminati. We the real enlightened ones. We the ones that built everything over here and invented everything. That's why they call us the enlightened ones. You know what I'm saying? It's just my perspective on it, man. Because I hear a lot, there's people out here that says, this is why, man, we're about to get up out of here, man. I need to eat my food, man. That I guess is already cold. Yeah, man. So yeah, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, man. We love y'all all. We love you all. You know what I'm saying? This was a needed conversation. Yeah, man, it needed to happen. So yeah, roll it back, man. We about to get up out of here. Y'all. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. All right, Rod, man. Hey, y'all. Peace and love. We send divine love throughout the universe to all. Free the 3 chiefs. Free Dr. Malachi Z. York. Free Larry Hoover. Free Jeff Fort to El Ricky, man. Let the 3 chiefs walk. Peace and divine love to all the matriarchs on the land. We out. Wadu.
Never have it been made so clear.